Hey everybody, this is Rydo, and today we're starting a series of Zero Escape, the Nonary Games, the sequel to the first Nonary game 999, or 9 hours, 9 persons, 9 doors, which is just slightly shorter named as Virtue's Last Reward. There's a trailer that plays when you first launch, so I wanted to ensure everybody saw it, so let's launch it and watch it. There's definitely some things that you can see as far as this trailer that compared to the first game, just that there's going to be a different kind of story. Uh, Also, I would say there was a trailer, I think, in the first game too, but uh, both of them seem to make the game look a lot more violent and actiony than it actually did. But you can see now we've got 3D models being displayed, at least in cutscenes. We've got a lot more violence, a lot more blood, a lot more horror. A lot of the scenes have you, assuming you've seen or played the first game, a lot of the areas seem to be the same areas. Seems like there's going to be more actual, maybe flashbacks and interactions with people on a less hostile level. And then when you look at all the characters, they are all a lot more wildly with the high crazy anime fashion than the first game, where there was basically one character, I would say, that really stood out in 999 for being high fashion and basically being in a belly dancer outfit. And then everybody else was only slightly anime-esque in their fashion and looked very normal. And the character you played as looked very normal too. Uh, so we are hopefully in for a slightly different story. It would be silly to repeat the story of the first game. Um, it is probably still going to be the same premise of people wake up, they are going to have a bracelet on their hands. The bracelet's going to open certain doors based on the number on it, and those doors are going to let you uh, enter, but then you have to find probably a dead man switch to stop the bracelet from blowing up and exploding in you. Oops. Alright, we don't need to do that a second time, sorry. So, we'll go ahead and just click there. This does have controller support, so I'm gonna try and use that. I'm not sure if I did that in the first game. And we've got some voice, but that doesn't inherently mean all voice dialogue. That would be very helpful. The first game really turned into much more of a visual novel than I expected, and I would like this to be fully dialogued. Both games have two different modes, where one gives you kind of a description and a lot more detail, where one only really gives you the dialogue, and we'll have to jump into that while we're in the game. Is there any other setup? No. I mean, it's kind of silly to promise that a visual novel game that is kind of like a horror equivalent to Saw, but not really. At least the first game really wasn't. It got very far away from that. For all the characters you see, you would assume that a lot more of them had died in the first game. And it's only a slight spoiler of the first game to say that there was some people in the group that were not 100% allies. So we kind of assume that that's going to be the case also in this case. So there will be a level of trust and distrust. That's the whole point that even the trailer implied. Yeah, but this is gonna go long. We're gonna make long episodes, and we'll try and rush through it as fast as possible, because definitely the first game just kept on dragging and dragging and dragging, and it felt like it had dragged on quite a lot by the time it had even unlocked the final path, which then drug on even more. Thank goodness the final path did not have any branching elements. Let's begin. This game is a work of fiction. All the characters and incidents portrayed are this December 25th, 2028. So we are in the future. And it's like the same type masked character who we really didn't like. That's kind of weird in a lot of ways, that it would be the same masked character that potentially used the same gas that was invented. That the gas itself was part of the story. I'm gonna have to remember a lot here, but we kind of know who the masked character was. Like, and so at this point, I'm gonna just fully have to spoil the first game. If I'm recalling correctly, it was Santa, Santa. They had all code names. That was the masked kidnapper, and it was either Santa or it was the female lead, which I think her name was June. It was either one of them that kidnapped everybody, and they had to do it to create some kind of time paradox event that would make June actually exist and stay existing in reality. So even though there was an adult June, they had to go through the events to rescue the child June in the past, using some kind of magical synchronization. So you kind of have to assume now, 10 years later, that if this is the same kidnapper, he's going to have a whole different motivation. Also, we're playing as a character that is much more muscular and mature looking for his age. Mature looking, and he does look like he is closer to a 28-year-old, where the character we were playing as originally was closer, I think, to what I would guess as a 20-year-old. I guess it might be the exact same character, and they've just changed drastically in appearance over 10 years, but or I assume 10 years, that if it's 2028, I mean, it could be 2 decades, frankly, like, or even 3. So let's see, we've got a menu back button. So this was a DS type game. We have a log, and let's see, we have an archive, which it seems like there's several things we will figure out, and some kind of memo thing that we could potentially do, but I don't know exactly how that would work. It's like, so you literally can just draw on the screen holding the A button. Interesting. So there might be a lot more going on here. Otherwise, as far as files and passwords and secrets that we'll have to remember. The memo in general means we can make, I guess, just memos directly. It's called brain memory. Interesting. we have a flow, and we can see on the flow here, there is a main decision after the tutorial, much like the first game, which you'd almost certainly always have to have that. You're going to have a main branching point. That main branching point is probably numbered doors. We're going to go then 3 paths, and then on each of those 3 paths, you split again to 2 more paths, which gives you a doubling there of 9 potential paths at that point. Because picking one of these paths potentially changes the story later on, if it's like the first game, which I assume it is. And then you have several other branching paths, which then doubles it again to like 18 paths. And if I'm doing the math right, and then you have more branching paths, which doubles it again to potentially 36 paths. And I think you probably, if it's like the first game, are going to have to see each of these paths. So there will be a lot more rewinding going on in this case. It might very well be that these lower branching paths are simply going to be a case of, do you trust someone or do you not trust them? If that was the idea, that there are, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Yeah, there are 8 branching paths relatively on this horizontal line, which implies to me that you very well are locking into trusting or not trusting someone, and you're splitting up the group a lot more. This also might mean, fingers crossed, that once you unlock the final understanding of everything, you will not unlock a super long wrap-up scenario. There probably will be some wrap-up scenario, but I imagine it won't be hours and hours later. Instead, they're opening up, one hopes, more of the game early on for you to be able to see where it exists and know that is a goal and a target too. Because there's really was no point in the previous game to hide the fact that there was a whole bunch more content. Save, of course, is just a save. It'd be kind of silly to save right now. And I guess our character is named Sigma. Now, I would say I don't particularly like the idea that the menu is just here on the screen always, and that the stop button's always here on the screen. It feels like that would be fairly easy to not have. And that does kind of feel like they are just squeezing in what was a 3DS element into a single screen. Yeah, and I guess we just are going to have to hit A. So we already know, we already know that we're not going to, we already know that we're not going to get full dialogue, but it doesn't seem like there's an option here, like, unless there was something here. Let's see, buttons, A, advanced text, right button, left button, down button, brings you up to the menus. I'll have controls, basic controls, press A, hold the button down to auto scroll text. How can I make a choice? Just use the directional buttons to select an answer and confirm it by pressing the A button. Stop and auto. If you want auto or skip mode, press A button to switch to stop. And you'll be able to advance the story on your own pace. If you want to automatically advance, hold down the X button to switch to auto. Alright. There may be times, maybe, that's an understatement, where you've encountered text you've already read. Skip function has been implemented for this very situation. If you're in auto mode, just press the X button to switch to skip mode. The game will begin fast forwarding through text you've already read. You can enable skip text from the options menu to skip unread text. Well, apparently we haven't gotten to the options menu yet. Escape buttons. We will still have escape sections, but they seem like they're going to be 3D now. See. But what I'm not seeing is a switch to the different kind of dialogue mode. So maybe that doesn't really exist in this one. Because, yeah, I'm not really seeing that option. Damn it. Wait, they misspelled it. It's damn knit. Feels like my head's gonna explode. Wait. That's my stomach growling. Where the hell am I? So ideally, you're gonna want to see some pressure here, but you wouldn't want to see. You kind of would want to see them take it to the next level, and not just be trapped in a room. That then once you escape that tutorial level, we're gonna start the beginning of a flooding sequence. Well, I'm gonna pause my video for just a second and I'll be right back. Okay, I'm back. I just realized that I had not adjusted my audio, so I'm gonna use my software to see if I can get it down a little bit quieter, because that does seem like that is a little bit too loud for me, for the way I like the audio to be in games, which is typically not that loud. Alright, let's see. Where the hell am I? So the spinning circle as a cursor, I have to admit, is not something I particularly enjoy. It is rather distracting. A flashing cursor exists in any instance, so you know where you potentially would be if you could type something. It makes considerably less sense in a video game where you won't be typing anything, and a cursor that spins counterclockwise on the outer ring and clockwise in the inner ring is a lot of motion, which is a very sharp contrast to the fact that there is going to be 99.9% of the time no motion whatsoever in a visual novel. We're inside some kind of like large shipping elevator. Looks like an elevator, but
isn't that obvious?
So we have some voice acting and we have a girl. Alright, so I kind of am not certain I agree with the 3D modeling. Like, I certainly would understand why a probably new Japanese company would want to get into 3D modeling, particularly around the time that this game would have come out. The idea, this definitely looks like something that would have been in a 3D RPG as far as the 3D modeling, and 3D modeling in general in 3D was such a craze for many, many decades that there was a very quick abandonment of 2D animation. I liked the 2D animation in 999, and I don't feel like this 3D modeling in this one scene particularly looks as good. I don't feel like there's as much shading. I don't think, by modern standards, it's very low in polygons. I don't feel like there's enough polish that you could ever possibly do in a 3D model without, particularly during this time, compared to 2D stills, because a animator can work on a 2D still and put every little detail exactly where they want, and that 2D still is never going to change the depiction of it's never going to change, and then they can trace for a different pose. And at the end of the day, doing 2D animation, you might make at most 100 different poses and just cycle through them, and it might be considerably less than 100. It might be 20 different poses in a lot of visual novels, and you just cycle through them, and it works fairly well. Whereas every 3D model here is going to have to be rendered either in the game engine or outside of the game engine, and the angles are certainly going to be different here. In this case, this turquoise jacket that this character is wearing seems like it might have a logo on the back of it, but we can't see that right now. The boots are all crinkled. Will they always be crinkled when she starts standing up, or will they be less crinkled, or is that just a fashion? She's sitting on what looks like a fluffy skirt, which honestly would not be fluffy if you're sitting on it, more than likely. You can't really see what her shirt is at all. You can't really see her face. You can't really see all of her hair. Her hair seems to be have spots of black, but is that a hair decoration, or is that part of the hair? If you had just played the first game, you might think that this is Santa's potential offspring, or the just physical replacement for Santa, because Santa had the white hair too. But if our character is called Sigma, I bet we start to get code names for everybody that are around the Greek alphabet and not around either the Western numbering system or the Japanese translation of the Western numbering system, where San is 3 in Japanese, and that's how they got Santa. Who the hell are you? Interesting they don't voice the main character. I feel like they did in the first game at least sometimes, and that probably would have helped. Hello. Right, okay. Let's try a different tact here. Where the hell are we? Also, while you're at it, why? No response. You always this friendly, or did I kick you while I was sleeping? We can see that there's oddly shaped screw heads on the vent down below that panel. There's also a key, so I wouldn't be surprised if we have to solve 2 or 3 puzzles in this one room to start with. Damn, no luck there either, huh? What?
I said I'm plenty friendly.
Well, the good news is I don't have to read out loud character when they talk, so that could save my voice a lot, which that is going to be a concern. It looks like you can talk after all, so let's try this again. Where are we?
Don't know.
So now we can see her, and see, this is the big difference here, is that you're going to get a different picture of the character in 3D now, because she's in a completely different pose. But this 3D model, which is going to, in my opinion, almost certainly be less detailed than what an individual 2D model is, will be used as the base of every 3D depiction. So if this was the exact same scene 2D drawn, I feel like there would have been more detail in it right now. But 3D modeling adds more time and more work, and thus you see less detail. Of course, that could also be an artistic decision here, that they aren't trying to have patches and frills on the characters. This is a pretty decent outfit. It seems reasonable for somebody who's slightly fashionable. We can now see that the hair, the black parts on her hair, are hair decorations. We can see she has blue eyes. The face is not bad, although it is going for that art style where the chin is very angular and sharp, and it definitely has that anime style where her head and her forehead is giant, and her jaw line and her mouth is really small. Her eyes are, as in most anime, really big. This all being inspired by Mickey Mouse in decades earlier. She has some kind of pendant on her shirt. She has some kind of necklace that looks interesting, but is not particularly indicating much of anything. She's wearing a white tank top with what looks like either a black bra or a black undershirt. She has a belt. You can see it's at an angle, or her shirt's just tucked in halfway. You can see her blue coat is not much there. It would have been smarter, in my opinion, had this coat had some kind of sleeves, short sleeves or otherwise, because you could have easily hidden some of the shoulders, which, looking at her shoulders, they come to a very sharp point because of the low polygon count. And I doubt we're going to be able to just like hit the right stick and zoom around characters and move the camera around, at least in the novel sections. Now, you can see this character is blinking, it's bouncing back and forth, a little swing, giving it a bit of life, which most visual novels wouldn't have that, but there is a technology that has since come out, and it's probably only 3 or 4 years old, called Live 2D, that lets you draw 2D images, but then describe certain stretch points. And so it runs an algorithm where what starts off as basically a 2D image, it will add a little bit of swing and a little bit of movement. Done right, it really makes a 2D image look like it's alive. Done wrong, it makes a 2D image look like it's bouncing around like crazy, which becomes almost an art aesthetic at a certain level. And I haven't seen a lot of embracement for live 2D, but it definitely allows you to have and focus your animator, who is probably going to be a 2D animator. There really isn't a lot of people who are both a 3D animator and a 2D animator, and they're both very good at both. So Live 2D lets you keep your current employees and your current artists who are good at 2D animation, and then add some 3D animation as to give it a little bit more life. Well, could be worse, I guess. You could have said, actually, we're stuck in a booby-trapped elevator in the bowels of a top-secret government facility where they conduct grotesque human experiments. That's jumping to an extreme a little early for Sigma. Although, it does point out a very interesting question here. If this is 10, 20 years after the events of the first game, and the events of the first game ever got released as evidence and people talked about it, then it might be fairly prevalent that people know about the Nonary Games and what happened before. Although it's questionable whether that information did get out. Right, back to the first question then. Who are you? By the way, by which I mean, what's your name? And see, just a animation like that takes a lot more than you would think. Remember also, now we have, in modern AAA games, just moved to the point of motion capturing a lot of actions, so you don't even have to hand animate a simple thing like bringing your hand to your chin and thinking. But when this game would have been made, you would have definitely had to make a start position and an end position, referred to as keyframes, and then had some 3D modeling software like Blender, for instance, render out an algorithm as far as how to move from position A to position B, and then you probably would have had to done hours and hours and hours of tweaking to make that look natural, and to potentially not have her move in a very consistent manner, because humans typically don't move at the exact same pace when they're doing something. They slow down, they speed up, and it's just all so subconscious that people don't think about it.
Sigma.
So she says Sigma, which is weird because I thought that was my name. Cute. Well, if her name is Sigma, then I need to bring out the mouse, and that's my name. So, yeah, my name is Sigma. So, she's saying her name is Sigma? I'm asking you what? Wait a second. How do you know my name? I haven't met you before, have I?
No, you haven't. I don't have any idea who you are.
I wonder if we both have the same name. That would be confusing.
But
Remember in the first game, each person was attempted to be paired with a family member or maybe someone else that they would have kind of a psychic connection to. So it's very possible that this girl is supposed to be our psychic connection to, or it could be that the whole point of this Nonary game is to find the people who you have a psychic connection to. But what? How could you know my name if you don't have any idea who I am?
how the hell am I supposed to know?
Well, what's funny here is this potentially means that this girl is already deep in the timeline path where she is remembering things that happened in different time loops, as it were, because that is what started happening at the start of that was what was happening at the end of the first game. Either that, or she has someone who is psychically connected to her in some other like duplicate facility, and that person who's psychically connected to her just told her that he was Sigma.
I just know it, okay?
It potentially would be more scary to be a bystander around a person who just was psychically figuring out things, although at a certain point I wouldn't care. Whatever escapes me, whatever helps me escape, I wouldn't trust a girl like this. Immediately they've sowed the seeds of distrust, but if she's acting for my benefit, then I'd be willing to cautiously follow her around. No need to bite off my head. It's just you're not really making sense here, and you still haven't told me who you are.
Shut up!
There's definitely a problem with half voice acting things like this.
Just back off, Grandpa.
Grandpa. Interesting. And then you have a motion of her swinging her hands out in anger, and then it just holds there because the whole game has to hold there, which this is a new problem that's introduced when you have motion compared to stationary images, because when everything is still, it's not surprising when things are still. When things start moving and then stop moving, it becomes very noticeable. Grandpa.
Look, I just don't know, alright? It's just kind of there.
I feel like we're going to have a lot more flashbacks and backstory of all the characters this time, where in the previous game there was not a lot of backstory of any of the characters until you got the final reveal of their backstory, really. And so it was fairly one note, as it were.
Like, I looked at you, and some part of my brain just said, that's Sigma.
Hold on a second.
What do you think this thing is?
See, now you have a case of her moving, and she had brought her hand to her mouth again and was thinking, and then as soon as I hit A, it kind of jumped to another animation, and that was very jumpy. Huh?
This bracelet?
Interesting. It says 3 and then pair, where the bracelets before did not have the word pair. It was just a number. Also, remember in the first game, there was a left, right, left, right, left, right, left, right type combination you could do on the 2 buttons that we figured out that told you something else that then like opened a safe, I believe. Also, take note that this is still 2D animation on the hands, and I wouldn't be surprised if this is just the exact same arm that was used in the first game.
See, you've got one too.
Yep. Visual novels inherently feel like they don't have that much of a budget compared to how much writing they want to tell. And ideally, I would like to see more Western video game companies who were good at making first-person shooters and animation in 3D AAA looking games. I'd like to see more of them like contract with Japanese writers to just say, hey, we know you can write a story. We know you can write a story that's more interesting than our often pathetic stories of we're fighting giant monsters or we're fighting in World War II, thus nothing's really going to change. We're doing modern warfare, thus nothing's really going to change. If there was a slight merging there, that would be great. Also, you have lots of games where they come out all around the world from different developers that just have like no story at all. And there isn't really a good reason for that. It's simply just because all the budget of one game often gets focused on the visuals and the gameplay, and all the budget of visual novels are focused on the story.
They're pretty much identical.
If ours says 3 in pair also, then this opens up a potential scenario where maybe it is not a combination of 9 per individual number, but perhaps a combination of 9 per groups of pairs. So instead of 9 people potentially being able to leave at the end on the final door, it could be that, well, no, it probably still is that the same trick that if everybody played it right, we probably could all escape. Yeah, you're right. Yeah, it says 3 in pair. Where'd they come from?
It was on already when I woke up. Haven't figured out what it's for yet, though.
Well, it doesn't seem like it's a watch, does it? My first instinct would be to try to take it off. If somebody put something on me, I'd try and take it off immediately.
No. It's just got a 3 and the word pair.
God.
What are you doing?
What are you doing? Trying to get it off.
Good luck. I spent a while trying to get mine off while you were napping. It's on pretty tight. Doesn't even have a clasp or anything.
You can see how the number of animations that this character has is fairly low. She has the excited, angry fingers outward. She has the thinking, bring the hand to the face, and she has the single hand upward motion, and that's pretty much it. What about these buttons on the
I
sides?
pressed them, but nothing happened.
Hmm.
Not even a beep.
Yeah, you're right. Nothing. Damn it. Oh, so is that how you spell damn it? I don't think it is. See, here you probably have a case where it was translated and spell checked by someone who's not familiar with English language well enough. And I don't think you spell damn it that way. You damn, you could spell DAMN certainly, but yeah, I don't think you spell it damn it. Interesting. Although I haven't seen that word written down in quite a while. What the hell is going on here? Also, we have a case of a Japanese line of dialogue being translated probably very literally into English, whereas localization slash censorship, depending on how you would feel about the localization, would take a line like this and probably clean it up a little bit more, because in the Japanese language, saying a curse word isn't really saying a curse word depending on how you say it. So for the best instance of this is baka, which means idiot, but if you say it one way, it could be a soft joking insult, but if you say it very angrily, then it is just a very, very direct idiot. Calling someone an idiot statement. So that type of nuance based on tone does not translate to English. So a localizer very well, particularly knowing that these games are going towards what was mostly a kids platform in the Nintendo DS, they may very well have thought, why don't we turn this damn it to darn? And why don't we turn this hell to heck? You could go very far there and it wouldn't be that far off from what he's saying. Since we don't know, we don't hear Sigma's voice, and we have not seen an option screen at all. Let's see. There's 10 pages here of just saves, but that's it. So there doesn't seem like there's any way to turn on the Japanese to see if maybe in the Japanese he would be voiced. That would be the only way we would really know how angry he really is talking, or at least have an idea of that. Somebody better start explaining, or...
Hey, look.
Alright, so she also has an excited jump back animation she does. Hey, look, what?
There's something on that screen over there.
Wait, what?
How are you feeling?
Interesting that they're bothering to animate this video, and in this case it probably is just a mostly simplistic animation that we're going to see with this Chinese bunny, for lack of a better description. So we have to immediately ask this question, and this is certainly going to just increasingly slow down this whole process. What is this bunny? Is this an animation, or is this a supposed to be like a hand puppet, or is there actually going to be a talking bunny that exists in this universe? I would have to assume it's an animation.
I am Zero the Third, the king of this kingdom.
Okay, so Zero the Third, which potentially means we missed 0 second, or that the game that's the third in the series ends up becoming a middle story that happens between the first game and this, or they just left themselves room to make more room. Like Zero the Third, I assume, doesn't probably tell us anything. Like 03 wouldn't tell us much other than we and the girl seem to be paired up as a 3. What the hell is that?
A rat?
Or she's saying it's a rat. Oh no, pretty sure it's a rabbit.
I'm sure you've got lots of questions. It just seems silly to have a big old chit-chat right now. So, I'm gonna give you a game to play.
A game?
Yes. And I'm calling it...
So there's a question about whether Zero can hear us or whether this is just pre-recorded. If it's animated, it almost certainly would be pre-recorded.
Nonary Game!
Very, very chipper for what is effectively a death game.
Ambidex Edition!
So the Ambidex Edition, I thought, was the expanded version of this version of the game where you get more information. So they may have changed this line of dialogue. If the original version of Virtue's Last Reward, which even in that title probably is a spoiler, if the idea there was always called this, then we're going to have to figure out what Ambidex Edition... I know what ambidextrous means, and that you can be more flexible and like double jointed. I don't know how that would make sense in a video game, other than perhaps there's just more options, more branching paths. As I'm trying to think about the branching paths of the original game, I also really do have to wonder who was the killer in some of those scenarios, because I know it was seemingly a multitude of people, but it definitely feels like there were some paths where people just got murdered and there was no big explanation as to who the murderer was. Excuse me as I drink some water. I'm gonna have to do a lot of that. Yeah, I guess at the end of the day it didn't matter, because some of those paths really didn't give us any information other than they just filled out the flow. She jumps back, so apparently people do know who about the Nonary Games, or at least she does.
There's more to it. Lots more. But if I told
Notice
you
how the
now,
rabbit
that'd be cheating.
jumped to an animation too.
So, hurry up and get out. I'll be waiting.
See, the question here... Hey, hold on. Who the hell?
All right. I forgot to tell you the most important thing.
Yeah, I suppose we'll have to see how the animations play once we start getting into the automated move forward gameplay.
This elevator you're in?
So either everybody wakes up in different elevators, or this is a video specifically for this group.
It's gonna fall in a few minutes. Way down.
And then in this case, the text is going slower than the audio. Fall.
Yes, indeedy. So you better get moving. I'll see you later. Have a nice trick.
Have a nice trick. Yeah. See you next fall. Yeah, so they've completely mistranslated a English joke there. Have a nice trip. See you next fall. And that joke wasn't any funnier in elementary school.
Oh, I get it. Trip and trick, huh?
I don't get it. Don't tell me you're impressed. See, Japanese jokes are almost always pun related in Japanese and they never translate. So that almost certainly was a Japanese joke that they had to try and figure out some way to translate into an English joke, and yet they still didn't understand that English jokes very rarely are pun related, or at least they aren't always pun related. So they had the character say trick, which makes no sense at all in English. It really doesn't. Don't tell me you're impressed. Oh, for the love of... Damn it. Damn it. I'm gonna just correct these spelling issues. This is BS. This stupid rabbit didn't tell us anything. How are we even supposed to get out of here? Oh well, I guess whining about it isn't going to help. Anybody? We won't be able to get the answers if we can't get out of here. I don't particularly like the fact that we're getting beeping every time a text it types in text either. I wish we could turn that off, but we'll see when we can get to the options. You with me? Come on, just nod or something.
I don't want to die here any more than you. Let's go.
So, seek a way out. We're slightly faster into a tutorial, although I actually don't think that was faster than the first game, because the first game we didn't have any real setup. We didn't hear anything from zero before the first tutorial room. We didn't have to figure out about the watches, or there was no other person to deal with. The game consists of two sections, the escape portion and the novel portion. The goal for the escape portion is to escape from whatever room you're in, hence the name. Move the cursor with the left stick and press the A button to examine anything on the screen that catches your attention. You can change your camera angle by pressing left bump or right bump. So we can... Interesting, it's not a hard switch now, and from the looks of it, it seems like the girl is just not going to be in the way, so... What do you think this means? Hell if I know. It's just a bunch of pictures of babies and old people. Why don't you see if you can get it off the wall? Some things that you come across and collect won't be stored with the rest of your items. Instead, they'll be put in the file. To look and review them, press the right directional button to open the archive. So, poster and elevator. Try counting the number of babies and old people. Life would be infinitely happier if we only could be born at the age of 80 and gradually approach 18. That's a fairly specific thing. Alright. So, babies and old people. 1 baby, 2 babies, 3 babies, 4 babies. So I'm gonna put 4, if we can do this. Now, it's gonna be incredibly difficult to draw using a controller. Let's see what this would look like using a mouse instead. So 1 old person, 2 old persons, 3 old persons, 4 old persons, 5 old persons, 6 old persons, 7 old persons. So I'm gonna put a 7, and while that is not as smooth as using a controller, that seems to be it. But inherently we're not counting this one, or this one, or this one, because I don't inherently consider any of these characters to be babies or old people by my definition. It would be fairly easy to put these into the babies category and then bringing that up to 7. And then I guess I could put these in the old person's category, and that'd be 9. But I don't inherently think these two are anywhere as old as the others. What does any of that has to do with anything? We don't know yet. So there's some considerable amounts of screen tearing, I would say, when you're rotating here, and it's fairly slow. And my right stick is not working that way at all. Let's see, what does the Y button do? Y is bringing up other items. Yeah. It says the right stick is supposed to do something. It's not doing anything, like, at all. So right bump and left bump are doing something. When you see the word zoom in cyan in the right top right corner of the screen, the game is in zoom mode. To return to normal view, press the B button. It says take the key from the fire extinguisher, put it in the lock, and rotate counterclockwise. Looks like there's instructions for using a fire extinguisher. Yeah, but what it actually says seems weird. Yeah. There's some weirdness here, because I guess this downward angle, like that, I guess that's nothing. Yeah, that just says you can zoom out. This looks like a case for a fire extinguisher. Let me see if I can open it. Damn, no good. Is it locked? Looks that way, yeah. It's got a keyhole. So we're supposed to find the key that we don't have. Alright, so we did see the number of babies, and we said 4. Oh, why did it light up? I didn't do anything earlier. Maybe that's because the game hadn't started yet. So you think this button does something. I don't know. Let's take another look at it. Alright, so you can basically click any of them. So why are these colored like this? Oh, hey, this end is loose. Can you take it off? Let's see. It's a screwdriver with a cross on it, probably the handle for some kind of tool. The grip is blue. The screen that just appeared is called item screen, while on the item screen you can inspect items you found and combine or hold them. To access the item screen during escape, press the Y button. Item icon will show whether the item you're currently holding. Oh, so now the right stick swaps between items you're holding. I understand it now. Alright, and so we now have a red handled device, and clearly we need to do something. I had already seen that there was that. Now we've got a green one, and now we've got a yellow one, and over here we have the fire extinguisher, which will take the key. Wonder if we could bash the door down with the fire extinguisher. I think I'll let you try that. It'll probably be full of explosives. The only thing that's going to get it extinguished is you. Hey, come on now, that's scary. Alright. Let's see if this pin can open up the lock. Looks like it worked. Excellent. Okay, time to see what's inside. A screwdriver set. What's this? Polyurethane packaging. There's a few pieces of metal in here. 4 of them. 4 of them. They look like sockets for socket wrenches. Each one has a different shape though. Yeah. Well, we might as well take them. Okay, so the triangle tip needs to be combined with, I suppose, the yellow handled one. Because, I mean, well, no, we probably need to do a little bit more investigation here and just check, because we don't really want to waste our time. Alright. What the heck is this stupid thing? It's huge. It's an ATM. I see. Then do you think it's safe down here? The safe down here is stuffed with cash? That would be nice. No, it wouldn't. We have bigger problems than money right now. Like, I don't know, getting the hell out of here? Well, you don't have to yell about it. So the thing, square metal box, looks like a safe. Yeah, I wonder what's inside. Something someone wants to keep safe. What else would you put in a safe? Well, what do you think it could be? A cracker. What the hell is so important about a cracker? Okay, how about a Thai deposit box? A what? What does that even mean? Let's just try and open it. How? Well, there's some kind of pad in front of there with a 3x3 grid, right? I'm guessing that's how you open it. Right, let's give it a shot then. Each escape room has a safe somewhere. These safes have 2 passwords, one for escape and one for a hidden file. If you open a safe using the escape password, you get a key that allows you to leave the room you're in. If you open it with the hidden file password in hard mode, you get a golden file. If you do the same in easy mode, you get a silver file. The gold and silver files contain supplementary facts and background information that will give the novel sections added depth, but not necessary for escaping. In order for you to escape and continue, you must open the safe with the escape password. So, damn, no luck. Well, of course not. We're not gonna just get far just guessing. We need to find a clue. So, I feel like these buttons probably, let's see, let's bring up the archives. Or is it in the memo? No, the memo overlaps. Interesting. So the memo is basically something that comes up over any screen, potentially. So we were saying 4 and 7. Let's go then with 7 and 9. Wouldn't be surprised if nothing happens with either of these yet. And see, there's like, if this is the number of rabbits, then there should be 1 rabbit. Or he should be named 0. Okay, so now we need triangle yellow, square blue, pentagon green, red hexagon. So square. Alright, we can even see the background, so this is actually going to be very easy, isn't it? That is lovely. Square blue. And A to select. Okay. And then red with the pentagon, hexagon. And it says Y to select, but I'm actually using A. So green is pentagon. So either one of those works, which that makes that even easier. Alright. Okay. So now we use the yellow socket wrench. Alright, let's just give this yellow one a twist. I suppose there would be a way to make socket wrenches that required all this, but it's looks like you got it off. Interesting, we got commentary there. Excellent. That's the red bolt gone. Now, of course, if there was real world physics, this would almost certainly start swinging out, unless this was incredibly tight. Also, worth mentioning, these graphics look pretty awful. Like, very blurry on a PC at 1080p. It probably looked fine on the 3DS, but it probably didn't look amazingly great even there. There is a question about just how much space would have been on a 2DS, 3DS cartridge, so the graphics really can't be that good. That might be an argument to go to 3D models instead of stationary 2D articles, but I don't think so. Alright, that's it. The green bolt's off. Yeah, good job. You're a regular mechanic. Yeah, I honestly don't believe 3D models would take less space than hundreds upon, if not thousands, of 2D images. And this really is an argument of where the artist's focus was sent, and clearly it was not focused on drawing a vent. Ready? I'm gonna open it. What are you asking me for? Okay, geez. See, inherently you are gonna be in this situation if you're partnered with people where they need to probably just be quiet and let the player do whatever the player wants to do instead of giving a running commentary all the time. Here we have a cursor that once again is fairly distracting, but at least in this case the 3-ring spinning makes sense because you're actually all are clicking on things and inputting things. There are a number of mini games you play during an escape. The first game, 999, didn't really have that many mini games, so I might appreciate this depending on how repetitive or bad they are. Controls and rules will generally be given before you to you before a minigame begins, but some start without giving you any detailed instructions. If you can't solve a minigame, just quit by pressing the back button in the bottom screen, right corner of the minigame screen. If you keep trying, though, other characters might start giving you hints. They'll only do this when you're playing in easy mode, though. So remember, if you're stuck on a minigame, give it several tries before you switch difficulty easy. Now, it did not ask for a hard or easy mode when we started the game, so I assume the right thing there would be to be playing it on hard mode, but I wouldn't be surprised if actually hard mode does not unlock until potentially you play at least one run of the game, or potentially you play all the runs of the game, and that would be insane, frankly, for knowing how incredibly long 999 was. There's no way any reasonable person would want to play this game all the way through easy and then play it on hard mode a second time. If that really turns out to be the case, my only recommendation would be to get a save file where they had already unlocked hard mode and start playing from that perspective. I also don't think that the puzzles are going to be actually that hard, so it would make very little sense to go down that route and start us on easy. But there definitely are a lot of games that do that, where you don't get a hard mode or a nightmare mode until you've beaten the game once. What's this? Take note here that the girl has stopped doing her lines of dialogue too. So the actual lines that are voiced is less than 100% by far. Looks like some kind of maze. Do you think we're supposed to solve this? Probably. Alright, I'm on it. You need to move the green block from the top left to the blue square in the bottom right. You can move the green and red blocks up and down as well as sideways by using the directional buttons. Okay, so this is a slide situation. Alright, well, we can, I think, adjust for that. Let's see. Let's see how well we like this. Think we're getting this. Yeah, there we go. Complete. Completed with a cursor after it. Sweet. I did it. You're pretty good. Now, would I have gotten a different code had I solved that in the perfect mode? Because I probably did go back and forth one more time, or one or to 5 more moves than I really needed to. You're pretty good. This is kid stuff. I could do this, do it with my eyes closed. Oh, look at this. Something came out of the box. Oh yeah. Is this a memory card? Yep. And memory cards don't even really look like this anymore. Like, people don't use the SD format instead of using the micro SD format. It says AB on it. Green memory card, huh? Yeah. I got it from the maze. Maze is I just solved. So let's see what happens if we put the memory card. What's the deal with this slit? You mean slot, right? They're the same thing. What does it matter what we call it? It's a hole to put cards into. We don't know things go into it. The flat opening on the control panel, and it won't let me put the memory card in there, which would be my guess. Okay. It's got a green memory card in my hand. Let's see what happens when I put it in. Hey, it turned on. Okay, so we're putting the memory cards into these slots. I don't know if it's because a female probably doesn't want to hear a slot referred to as a slit. Like, okay, fair enough, but both words are probably acceptable, although I think slot probably is the one most people should always use. Looks like this thing is working now. Let's look at the screen. The screen is glowing with a strange light. But the problem, I would have thought, is that you would have put either the poster on that and then use the poster that way, or you would have done something different. It's an icon above it. This is some kind of mouse icon. It's a rabbit. How many times do I have to tell you? I think there might have been some kind of connection with 03. The guy we just saw. During escape, you're given the opportunity to switch difficulty levels. If you get stuck, you can switch difficulty levels to easy by opening the menu and selecting the difficulty button. In easy mode, other characters will give you more hints. However, once you've switched to difficulty easy, you can't switch it back to hard until you finish that escape. When you start over in a particular escape or enter it for the first time, the difficulty level is automatically set to hard. Alright, so we are in hard mode, and all of a sudden that comes about. Well, so we kind of know that that's it, and then there's a key here and a button. All right. An old man. Hey, Sigma. Do you remember seeing a couple of dried up old farts here somewhere? That's not very polite. You should call them old men or old women or something. Whatever. Do you remember anything? Yeah, the poster. We can go back to 7. And we could go back to 4. Hey, Sigma. So it was a case where you had to have it at 4 and 7, so you weren't counting the kids or the younger adults, and you had to have the elevator on 3 because he's 0 the third. Hey Sigma, did you just hear a noise? What noise? I think it was over here somewhere. Alright, so it did eject the red memory card. But we still need a blue memory card. Got a red memory card in my hand. Let's see what happens when I put it in. Okay, so now it just wants a blue thing. What the heck is this? Maybe it's some kind of password. Password. We've got a notepad or something. Huh? Oh no, not really. Then you'll just have to remember this. You think you can handle that? Yeah, of course. I'm always remembering stuff. You've found a hidden file password. To view it, press the right directional button to visit the archive and navigate to the blue pass tab. Alright, so archive, password, safe, elevator. Interesting. But if I do the hidden file password right now, then I don't escape. I need the escape password. Fire extinguisher unless the fire breaks out. Can't pull the handle. In here, there's nothing. In the corner, hidden around. See, it would be very easy to hide things behind things in a hidden object room. Can't do that again. You can't look up and you can't look down. You have all these little dots around this that indicate something. Screen. I'm fairly confused. I shouldn't have been able to, like, I shouldn't have been able to found the hidden file password first. Oh, you can look up. Interesting. Although it does seem like it more than wants me to not do that, because it's definitely pushing me downward. So you can look up, you can look down, but they doesn't really mean anything, and it seemingly turns off your ability to actually click on anything. So let's look at the archive here. How many kids were there? 3. What if I click 2? What if I click 0? There it is again. So, I think the game just told us that 0 the third is a kid, which is believable, because when I clicked on 2 as far as adults, that didn't do anything. When I clicked on 3 as far as kids, that did do something. So yeah, I think there's a hint there. It's right here. So then the question would be, if we click 4, do we get anything? So no, he's not a baby. If we click 7, no, he's not an old person. Yeah, he's a kid. I think that's the indication there. Which, figuring out that 0 the third is a kid might not really prove much, because he very well could be a character that we just never even really meet or get explained. He could be the sibling of any of the other characters, which we've so far only met one. Right. So we put the blue one in. Huh? This isn't what it showed us last time. A different password. You found an escape password. To view it, press the right directional button, visit the archive, and navigate to the blue password tab. Alright. So there's just an escape and just a hidden file. There isn't a third password, even though there were 3 memory cards there. So one memory card really just apparently turned the thing on, unless there is some kind of secret third password, which I don't know if I believe that, and that just makes it more. There's saves. There have 2 passwords, one for escaping, one for the hidden file. When you're using the escape password, you get a key that allows you to leave the room you're in. If you open the safe with a hidden file in hard mode, you get a gold file. If you do the same in easy mode, you get a silver file instead, which one assumes that the information on both of those files are probably the same, and it's just a matter of pride situation, hopefully, because it would be very annoying to have to come into this escape room multiple times and have to solve it for a silver file after you got the gold file. Let's see. The gold and silver files contain supplementary facts and background information. They'll give the novel sections at death, but are not necessary for escaping. In order to escape and continue room, you must open the safe with the escape password. Okay. So, just look here. Triangle in number 3, moon in number 7, and triangle, pentagram, as it were. Yeah, they're pentagrams. Stars in number 8. So, that, and let's just cycle through everything so we know that there's only 3 symbols and that they don't seem to have different color backgrounds. It blinks red, but then it's always a black background. Completed. Not centered. Ah, that's it. You did it. Good job. Hey, piece of cake. Is this a key? So here we have a key. And I imagine a lot of these 3D models were pre-bought, and this definitely does not look like a great 3D model. You also could hit A to examine it, but that doesn't actually zoom in. It's empty now. Well, let's see if we can just go open it again. I mean, there might very well just be a misunderstanding. Sun at 3, star at 4 and 9. It may simply just be a mistranslation, and you can do both. Yeah, seems like you can do both. Huh? That's odd. It opened with this password too. Maybe it has 2 types of passwords. Look, it has different stuff in it now. And how do you canonically explain that? Is there a rotating platform? It seems like that is the case. That you see the little roundness at the bottom of the floor, so it spins around depending on the code you put in. Which it would seem like it probably would be fairly easy to force that to spin around once the safe is open. Yeah, you're right. It's got a false back. See? It can just flip around. Kind of like one of those hidden passages in mansions and stuff. So you put in a different password, you get different stuff. I think so. Right, well that's enough of that. Grab the stuff. Yeah, let's get out, just get out of here. See what's inside, press the right directional button and visit the archive and navigate to the red secret tab. I'm a little surprised that there aren't more safes that have like a false back. That would probably make some sense to have like fake jewelry in the safe and then put in a and have it if you put in a fake code. But at a certain level, we probably would just want a safe that would be wired into a security system where you put in a false code and that way it sets off an alarm instead and catches the crooks potentially red-handed if you're going to do something like that, or you just don't have it open at all. It's rare that you're going to be in a good position if you are in a situation where somebody has like a gun to your head and you have to open a safe that you want to try to do anything tricky. You're better off just protecting your own life and handing over the valuables. This is an incredibly large amount of stuff that is just unlocked. I was expecting a single thing, not a bunch of things. This is where you play the AB game. It appears to be an elevator car. There are 6 AB rooms in the warehouse on floor A. From the left, they're referred to as first, second, and third, etc. The interior of each room is identical to the others, with a voting device on the wall and a hatch on the ceiling. Voting device. Interesting. This refers to the door of the AB gate. This refers to the door of the AB room. Most elevator doors open horizontally, but this one opens vertically. Most elevator doors include a safety feature that prevents the door from closing. If anything except this, these doors have no such safety feature. So is somebody going to get squashed? Bracelet 1. Each participant has a bracelet attached to their left wrist. If the participant breaks the rules or fails to fulfill certain conditions, then a set of 4 needles in the bracelet will inject them with 2 chemicals in succession. There are only 2 situations which causes the bracelets to come off. 1, the person wearing it completes the game and escapes. 2, the person wearing it heart stops beating. Attempting to break the bracelet or attempting to force it off will be considered a violation of the game rules. Of course, they haven't told the characters that. So all of this seems like this is just like information that will explain the rules of the Nonary game in a probably secondary way. AI stands for artificial insemination, not to me. It stands for artificial um, artificial intelligence. Let's see. They usually just call insemination, and the artificial part is not necessary. Like, because if you were to say something like was artificially inseminated, what you would be telling me is that you're injecting some kind of, I assume, mammal, probably human, with something that makes their body think they're pregnant when otherwise. Here they're saying it's a process which eggs are fertilized without the use of a male organ. Okay. Yeah, that would just be like, I mean, medical insemination, I suppose, might be a way of phrasing it, but they just call it insemination, and it's commonly used in breeding of dairy, cattle, and pigs, but it has also been, I've been told that in this case, AI stands for artificial intelligence, which is another thing entirely. So, yeah. Okay. That seems like that was just a joke. Words 03 says before he leaves, there are a few variations. Have a nice trick, have a nice trap, have a nice trader. Interesting. Interesting. Why would that be an option? But I think with the talk of artificial intelligence and quantum computers, I think we pretty much know that 03 might be an AI program. Quantum computer, device built by Tom Kwan, a Boise, Idaho commuter. That's actually a lie. A quantum computer is a highly advanced machine that uses quantum phenomena such as superposition and entanglement to perform calculations. Let's say, for example, that you want to determine the prime factors of 5183. A Van Neumann-style computer, let's call him Paul, would say, can I divide it by 2, 3, 5, and just run through numbers like that until it got the answer. Mr. Kwan, on the other hand, the computer, not the imaginary commuter, would just look at 5183 and say, obviously it's 71 times 73. A traditional computer with n bits can only be in one of two to the power of n states at once, but a quantum computer with n qubits can be in up to 2 to the power of n states simultaneously, meaning quantum computer can complete calculations that are currently impossible. That's amazing, Mr. Kwan. Are you seeing anybody? Yeah, it feels like 0 might be an AI and maybe a quantum computer on top of that. Quantum computers' potential seems to be very high, and we are moving towards quantum computing. But there are very specific scenarios that right now quantum computers have to be set up to work with, and that the level of maintenance of the hardware and the level of relearning how to program a computer to do what you need it to do is very difficult and not a finished science by any means. It is also worth mentioning that a lot of the computing in computers, personal computers in general, is built around the concept of getting it close enough. We don't need a floating point digit that goes to the billionth a decimal point. And that would be where a quantum computer might be very helpful, is if we did need highly accurate data. But generally, when you're just calculating where a pixel goes on a screen, which is what most GPUs do, or if you're just calculating 2 plus 2, there's probably no benefit in doing very simplistic integer math or floating point math that only goes to 64-bit ranges of details. And that has been a case in mathematics far before computers even existed, is that infinity plus 1 is effectively the same as infinity minus 1. There's a level of abstraction there where it just doesn't matter. The concept of 6 sigma, for instance, going just to the 6th decimal point, is usually accurate for almost any scenario. But yeah, when you're talking about cracking passwords and violating people's privacies, maybe a quantum computer is very helpful there to do that. But that is only because the passwords and the encryptions were designed to be too difficult to ever be guessed or processed through. And so we created that problem. So there wasn't a solution. Now quantum computers might have a solution to crack encryption, and that's more dangerous than it is good for most people. Floor A graffiti. Someone has written 2 milkmen go comedy on the wall in the warehouse on floor A. Presumably it refers to a pair of milkmen visiting a comedy club. The sentence construction, however, is obviously wrong. There must be a reason why. I don't even know this joke. Again, this could be Japanese translated to English. 2 milkmen going to a comedy club. What would the punchline be? Would it be some childish thing like it was utterly funny or it was utterly ridiculous? That's about all I could figure out. And then 2 milkmen go comedy. Like, I know Go is a game, but milkmen and comedy don't mean anything if you were to try and translate that into numbers or something. Yeah, so we're kind of left with more questions than answers, and there's 16 pages of these. So if we got 1 page per golden file, and I assume that's the case, is that you'd get 1 page per file, silver or gold, and then we know that there's 15 more puzzles. Let's see. And there's a whole list of things we didn't click on here. And frankly, I don't want to actually read all of this. It does really feel like there isn't a different mode in this game. Which, okay. I'm fine for the game not to have a different mode, because we really didn't need 2 modes in the first game. Particularly since the secondary mode that I found halfway through playing the first game was better. Like, all of these just seem like help files. And see, there's 8 files in total. There's only 3 pages of passwords. That does lead us to a situation where, unless the dialogue gets incredibly long, which it very possibly will, or it unlocks a lot of stuff, we are in a real good position here where we can do these escape rooms potentially only once, get the hidden keys, and not have to really rewind. Although we probably will rewind at some point. Like, almost certainly we're going to have to rewind to this decision point and play each path. And then we'll have to probably rewind to other decision points. And I'll try to be as efficient as possible on this, but I'm not sure how well that really is going to work, because I wouldn't be surprised if you can't actually get these last branching paths until you've played other paths. But that is what I did in the first game, and that was fairly annoying also. So we'll just have to see how this works, I suppose. Ready? I'm gonna put the key in. You don't need to ask me every time you're gonna do something. Just hurry it up. Right, I know. Here goes. Stop talking and do it. Yes, it's unlocked. Now we just have to open this panel. Are you sure we want to press the button? Is there any drains on the floor? I mean, you could drain water potentially out of each of these fairly easily. I wouldn't be surprised if this is actually a false elevator and it never actually falls. Although the idea of the Nonary games was that the danger had to be real. Once you leave this elevator, the novel section of the game will begin. For more information on the control zone for the novel section, have a look at the help section in the archive. Are you ready? Just do it. Alright. Message received. Here we go. 3, 2, 1, and push. Oh, it opened a hatch in the ceiling. What? Why does an elevator have a ceiling hatch? They all do. Yeah, but usually it's completely unsafe to go up there, even if an elevator is broken. So it's there's like not really good reason for the ceiling hatch to exist at all, other than maintenance men use it. It is better to stay in an elevator always, and almost always, if an elevator is broken, staying inside gets fixed fairly quickly. She's just gonna stay quiet the whole time. You found it. Alright, it's open. I'm gonna hit back here. And I guess this is where you would switch to auto mode. Apparently you can't be in skip mode. Not from this menu. And now we're in the novel section again. But there is no, like, there's no options otherwise. Okay, I guess maybe there's just no options. Like if there were more options, they would be here, wouldn't they? Now let's get the hell out of here. Yeah, and we've spent so much time in the escape room, I've completely forgotten about the 3D models to start with. And it definitely is going to be a thought pattern that I have throughout this game, that I'm not sure these 3D models really needed to exist. You can see that the button is still lit up for the babies behind her, so they at least are rendering the background fairly accurately. What's wrong? We're probably gonna get something very Japanese and off the wall here, where she says, "Oh, I'm wearing a skirt." So you're gonna look up my skirt while you have to lift me up here because I can't climb through this on my own. In all fairness, Sigma is probably gonna have some difficulty pulling himself through a hatch, because he's probably not that tall. Oh yeah, guess it's a little high for you, huh? I'd say at least 6 feet, maybe more. Alright then, climb up on my shoulders.
Your shoulders?
Very, very weird to get back to the dialogue. Yeah, that's right. Why, something wrong? What's that look supposed to mean? What do you think I'm gonna do? Oh, come on. I'm just trying to be rational here. No ulterior motive. Hand to God. Like, not like... It's not like I'm hoping to get my face sandwiched between a girl's bare thighs or...
I knew it.
I knew it.
Sick bastard.
Jeez. I was just kidding. Right, look. I'm just trying to get us out of here. You got any brilliant ideas that don't involve your thighs?
Fine. On your knees.
What?
You're a little tall for me to just jump up on your shoulders. And I'm certainly not going to give you the satisfaction of making me climb. So kneel.
Oh, okay. Now, this visual angle is a little too low for Sigma, frankly. If he's just on his knees, he would have to be on his hands and knees at this point. If not lying on the ground. There, ready. Bring it on.
Thanks. A little step up is just what I needed.
What? Wait, what are you gonna do?
Right.
What? You...
We go.
If she jumps off of him, she's gonna hurt him fairly badly. And she just jumped and they bothered to animate that. She can fly. How in the hell?
Alright, give me your hand.
So she jumped really, really high there. Which it'd be very weird if this game introduced the idea that some characters had special abilities, magical abilities, but it wouldn't really be out of line considering the ending story that we finally got revealed in the first game. Now she's gonna pull him up. She'd have to be super strong also. What? Oh, what the heck are you?
I'm not Superman, that's for sure. And I'm not Batman or Spider-Man or Aquaman or Merman or a Wolfman.
Okay.
I'm not a Brahmin or Common or Ramen. I'm not a Cayman either, so you don't really need to worry about anything.
Yeah, Brahmin, Common, Ramen, these are puns at this point. I don't know what Cayman is, if that's supposed to be something.
My name is Phi.
So we are going with Greek names, but in this instance it seems like they literally are named after Greek names.
I guess you could say I am no man.
Let's see. My name is Phi. Well, of course she's not a man. This again might be a translation issue, but I guess perhaps that is the thing she's pointing out, is that she is some kind of superwoman type character.
Just come on. One of these days, Witch King.
Witch King. Interesting. So we're getting hints for sure of a story that's happening in the background via a time loop or some other magic. And see, that's another image that I wouldn't have bothered to animate because that just did not look good. And whoa, what's up with this place? See, so you do see that the elevators seemingly are not connected to anything and probably would have never actually fallen. Which that inherently doesn't set up a good precedent for adding the fear that I think Zero the Third would want to add. But you can also see that there is a bunch of vents that indicate this whole place might get flooded. Whoa, what's up with this place?
Doesn't look like an elevator shaft.
Some
kind of warehouse, maybe. Or a hangar.
So we were in an elevator that doesn't elevate.
Yeah. It wasn't going to go anywhere.
When the rabbit said it was going to fall, he was just screwing with
So
us.
it would seem.
Then why?
Get it. Look. More people.
So here's the first time we saw all the characters in the first game, it was a shocking scene. It was zoomed in. You could see each of the characters. They broke it up into two different 2D screens so that you could really zoom in and focus on the characters. Look at these 3D models in contrast to that. They are zoomed way out. They are facing away from the screen so you can't even really see them. They really are just blobs of color in their 3D model. It also is probably a sad statement that our characters were the last to escape, or at least some of the last to escape. We see 5 characters there. We would be 6 and 7, so there's an 8 and 9 somewhere that still haven't escaped. I'm also wondering, since she called Sigma Witch King, or at least I think that's who she was talking about, but maybe Witch King is some other character, maybe the rabbit. Maybe if Sigma is the Witch King, maybe then we are not playing as the good guy who saves the day in the story. Maybe we end up playing as the bad guy, and for one reason or other needs to kill all of the people in this puzzle.
Looks like an old guy, a young man, 2 girls, and...
See, and if you were doing flat images here, almost certainly, if I was the game director, I'd say, as she's mentioning people, the camera should zoom in on them and show them directly. A kid.
They're all wearing bracelets.
So they've introduced a kid again. I felt like that was a bit of a problem in the first game, that there was a kid introduced. Even though the first game's whole story was about a bunch of kids getting kidnapped, it caused just caused a weirdness, certainly, particularly when the kid ended up in some branches turning into an axe murderer.
Probably safe to assume they're trapped here too.
Right, well, let's go say hi then. So here we have an Egyptian lady who seemingly is not wearing a bra at all. So, alright, well, we've potentially are going to push the limits of YouTube family friendliness on this one, I imagine. No nipples are showing. There was a Cleopatra-like character that was revealed. An Egyptian-like character that was revealed at the very, very end of the first game. It might be that this is that character coming back. Although, if that was the case, then almost certainly this character would know way too much, and it would hurt the story for any of the characters to know too much. This is going very, very extreme, even compared to the belly dancer girl in the first game. That felt like a very odd and just ridiculous outfit in the first game. This is just straight up, hey, let's push the limits of what they could get on a Nintendo console. And yeah, this is going to be fairly distracting depiction always. One thing you also run into here with 3D models compared to a stationary 2D model is that if you're drawing a 2D image, you can definitely always be certain to know what angle should be showing and what shouldn't, and so the amount of cleavage here could be reduced. Also, you could probably fairly easily in 2D or 3D have put a shirt on her and only had the cleavage in the middle and just colored over the rest of it. But yeah, she is effectively topless here with a large necklace strategically placed. But the other thing is, since this is a 3D model, you have a scenario where flesh bounces up and down when you're breathing. Boobs in particular bounce up and down, and you can see that there really isn't a lot of that going on. In every scenario you can imagine here, just walking, turning, talking, I would assume these boobs would be bouncing left and right, assuming they're not double sticky taped down or glued on in some way. And there almost certainly will be running scenarios and things like that. Which opens up the next problem is of having a kid in a storyline like this, is that you potentially are going to have this child getting flashed breasts all over the place on top of her flashing breasts to all the other adults. Hey there. Any of you guys know what the hell's going on here?
We don't.
Woman
I
A.
haven't been out here much longer than you.
Yep. It would almost be better if the story literally said that all the characters were dressed in costumes and these aren't their clothes. But in the first game, the belly dancer outfit was a choice of the character, and it was not really addressed enough to really make sense. It was mentioned once or twice, and that was about it.
They grabbed you too, huh?
Now look at this old man in comparison to her. He's like fully clothed. He's got a weird like Western cowboy style necklace. I suppose by Japanese standards, having an unbuttoned collar might and rolled up sleeves might be a little less than fully clothed, but that's about it. And while this guy is being described as an old man, he is seemingly a spry old man. He doesn't look weak or wimpy. The oldest male character in the first game was kind of described as an old man too, but even when he was being described as an old man, he really just looked like he was at most in his mid-50s, where I could imagine this guy is in his 60s, even approaching 70s. Grabbed. You know, what I want to really see the outfit that Sigma is wearing, because he does look like he is wearing either a weird high fashion shirt or he's wearing some kind of like EMT ambulance driver outfit. Oh yeah, I got in my car, I went to start the engine, and then there was this white smoke.
I think we all shared that particular experience.
And here we have woman B, who again, compared to woman A, is very, very dressed down with a bird necklace. And still you have more fashion here than what the old man had, where the old man was very bland. There's a little bit more. The old man did have his necklace, and that's about it. You definitely open the door to weirdness when you start animating and all your characters in the high fashion outfits, and we certainly see that in a lot of anime series where like every character really needs to stand out and have its own particular design so that you might catch the attention of some new fandom.
The smoke seems to be some kind of general anesthetic. When I woke up, I was in one of these elevators.
And see, here you have a kid with either lights on his helmet or something, and he's fairly overdressed for a kid with a vest and a button-up shirt and a coat, and he definitely feels like he's more from an anime kids adventure series than from the shared universe that one assumes the Nonary games are set in. But yeah, there is a danger of putting a kid in a helmet, because that almost implies the only reason why a kid would be wearing a helmet is because he's at risk of damaging his brain or already has brain damage, which that would be particularly unfair to put someone who is mentally damaged in a Nonary game.
No.
Young boy says no.
Mr. Dio and I were in the same elevator, but
Wait. Which one of you is Dio?
That would be me.
And here we have a cowboy character.
This little guy here is Quark.
They're naming So Dio and Quark are not Greek letters of the alphabet.
Nice to meet you, mister.
Right, nice to meet you too. So what about the rest of you?
Tenmyoji, Alice, and Luna all woke up in different elevators.
So all of them seem to have different names, and I'm not sure all of them are fake names either. Here you have a very high fashion anime character with a big old top hat. I don't know if I really agree with some of these fashion decisions, but I would leave that up to just an artistic decision. Almost certainly there was probably some high feedback for the belly dancer outfit in the first game, and they probably overcompensated by putting more characters in crazier outfits.
Correct me if I'm wrong.
No, you've got it right.
Like, really, we have Old Man and Woman B now standing out as the only two characters that aren't wildly dressed. So you would be Tenmyoji. Tenmyoji is a long name to try and pronounce.
Yep.
I may just call him Ten. And Alice is.
Me.
So this is Alice, which that might be the character from the first game.
She's Luna.
And that's Luna. Yeah, it's kind of hard to even think of these two characters being in the same universe. But alright.
Hello. It's very nice to meet you.
It's kind of hard to believe all of these characters are in the same universe. Hey. Nice to meet you too. What's she so nervous about?
And you are?
Right, I'm Sigma. And this bundle of laughs is Phi. Good to meet you all, I guess.
Say that again.
So apparently Phi is going to be a bit of a pain in the butt throughout the whole story, which is probably a good move. It would be fairly boring to have a character like June show up and then you would have already had this romantic relationship with June again. So much of the story did focus around June to the point in the first game, to the point where it was revealed that like the entirety of all of the events of the story really focused around June. And so much of the first game turned into a romance visual novel when I was just not really expecting it to be a romance visual novel type writing, that I was definitely thrown off by that. Almost certainly we will develop a like for Phi over the course of the game and probably have to save her. We'll probably have to try and save a lot of people. Sigma says, in this malnourished harpy is Phi. Better?
Are you two...
Huh. Not likely. That elevator was the first time we'd seen each other, I think.
Think?
Oh, never mind. Forget I said anything. We met just now in that elevator. That's the truth.
Yeah. See your bracelet there?
Huh? Oh yeah, sure. So what we need to find out here is, do the other bracelets have different numbers that are paired to different groups? And when we start to think about the 9 concept and the 9 door, if we have 9 people, then there probably are some numbers that don't add up. Yeah. It really opens the door to, if other groups have just like 4 or 7 or 8, and we don't have anything that adds up to a 1 or a 5 or 9, that very well might confuse the issue quite a bit. And I don't know how you would solve that unless there's some way to break the pair and take the combined 3 and turn it into like a 2 and a 1 if the group splits up.
And yours. 5, right? Let me have a look. I thought so.
What?
Quark, you and Dio show them your bracelets.
Interesting, he doesn't make them show. They say pair, but it's a different color. And notice how Quark's hand is much shorter. Just like Phi and I. No, wait, the color is different. Ours is red. And yours is blue.
Oh, sharp eye there.
What about yours, sir? Tinmoya, right?
Show them yours too, ladies.
It's interesting. He's telling everybody else to show their bracelet, but not showing his own. 3 solo, green solo, red, green, and blue. Oh, red, blue, and green solo. So inherently, this might be limiting the number of combinations severely. If only the solo people can be split up. They're different. You've all got 3s, but your bracelets say solo.
Right. You figure it out then?
Figure out what? Well, if they all have the number 3, then the pairings actually become very easy. There's no math, no complicated math to it. It would be, I always have to stay with Phi in this story, unless there's something we figure out to break that later, and I can either take one of the other solo people, or I may not even be able to pick one of the other solo people. I may literally only be able to take the red solo person, which at a certain level, then that almost makes it feel like we aren't going to follow the main character throughout the entirety of the story, which would be interesting, I suppose, if we just said, if like the game itself just said, hey, do you want to follow this main character, Sigma, and follow his story, or would you like to jump over and play as Tomoya or Dio or one of... They almost certainly would have enough of that Japanese sexism where they wouldn't have you play as one of the female characters. That would be my assumption there, but particularly since they almost certainly want to put the female characters in slightly more danger than the male characters.
Sigma and I are the red pair. Dio and Quark are the blue pair. Each pair got put in the same elevator.
So then there's a green pair. And then that would have also meant the numbers are off here somewhere. Yeah, there's an extra person. Like there's either somebody was in an elevator alone when they woke up, or somebody has beat up, tied up, / killed somebody and left them in an elevator. Because when you have Dio and Quark, that's 2, and Alice and Luna, that's 2, and then you have Tomoya, that's just 1. Yeah.
But Tenmyoji, Alice, and Luna were all solos, so...
What elevator did they wake up in? So they got put in their own separate elevators? So there are no more people in elevators apparently. Okay, that's great and all, but what does pair and solo mean?
Don't got the foggiest idea.
Well, that's helpful.
I don't know why we're split up like this either.
Does anybody know what the 3 means?
Maybe it has something to do with the game.
Game? Oh yeah.
Yes, yes, yes. And I'm calling it.
Now we're getting that same animation in larger.
Ambidex Edition.
Ambidex Edition. Still don't know what that would mean. You guys saw them too, right? That rabbit thing?
Yes. In the elevator.
I could totally have this
You said something
move
about the elevator
forward
falling.
if all of the dialogue was voiced, but it isn't. So I have to sit here and press A, and every time I press A, that gives an opportunity for me to not press A and instead talk, and that stretches the length of these experiences. See, and this is where, in the first game, this is the kind of content that you wouldn't see by the default mode, where it would go to a full screen and explain what's going on, more like a book, and instead of just showing dialogue. So apparently that is just by default built in, and there's no way to avoid it. The others explained that after they escaped from their own elevators, they'd gone around the warehousey room where they were in and tested the doors. Unfortunately, it turned out they were all shut tight and impossible to open. They had been about to try and open this door, and the one with the 9 on it, when Fi and I appeared. So any chance that this one will open?
You think we'd have done it last if there was?
There's some sort of, I don't know, machine off to the left here, but
Well, give it a shot, why don't you?
So the scanners look different this time. Instead of being attached to the wall, they seem to be attached to the floor and bigger and perhaps lower to the floor for the kid in this case. I feel like this kid, compared to the kid in the first game, is also even younger, where you're putting him probably in the age of 14, where I would have imagined the age of the girl in the first game to be somewhere around the age of 16 or 17. Looks like force probably isn't going to work either. Damn. Well, I didn't really think that worked anyways.
I don't think you'll be able to force that door with anything short of a tank.
Alright, well, how about these 3 doors over there?
I told you already.
So Quark is already going to become annoying.
Each one's got a digital lock on it. We can't pick the lock, and we can't break down the door.
You sure about that? Alright, so looking at these colors on the door, which those are very brightly colored, and obviously that means something. We have pink or red. Sure, that would make sense. Or cyan. Yellow, which that doesn't make sense, really. And blue. See, I mean, if you put the 3 reds to the red, then the red door open, that would make sense. If you put the 3 blues to the blue door and that open, that would make sense. But if you put the green with a red and a blue, at that point you kind of get more of a white color, or black, depending on how you're mixing the colors. It doesn't really feel like yellow, but that would be about the only thing I could figure out to do. But also, if you were going to do the green with one red and one blue, then that would just be the 3 solo characters. So on one scenario, you potentially leave 4 people behind who can't go anywhere. And I bet these rooms probably just cycle back into the same room and open up. Or you leave potentially 1 person behind, the old man, in the other scenario.
Why would I lie?
Okay, are there any other ways out?
No, unfortunately. Not that we've found anyway.
Great.
Well, there is one thing I'm a little curious about.
And that is?
I was the first to escape.
So is there a final elevator to the right of what's being shown here, or is it literally just 5 elevators?
That means I know who was in which elevator.
Hmm.
I watched all of you come out after all.
And?
Well, I was in the 1/3 from the right.
Okay. See, I'm seeing 6 elevators being depicted here, not 5. So that does blow the idea that there aren't 2 more people probably in the elevator.
Tenmyoji was the second out.
Okay. One assumes she's going to tell the truth because it would be very easy for anybody to contradict her claims as she goes further here.
Your elevator was second from the left, I think.
Good memory.
So,
Yeah, that's where I was.
Third was Luna.
so they're just putting the letters of each of the names.
You climbed out of the rightmost elevator, didn't you?
Yes. That's the one.
Is this going to spell something?
Dio and Quark were next.
I don't know how you'd spell something this way.
You came out of the elevator next to Luna's, right?
Yeah, we did.
And finally,
So D and Q.
the 2 of you were trapped in...
The 3rd elevator from the left.
Yeah, I don't see how you spell something this way. If that was the trick here. Although Sigma and Phi's names could be made up. And all the names could be made up. And this could be Japanese translating to English, so it may not mean anything anyways. Wait then.
Yes. No one has come out of the leftmost elevator.
It would kind of hurt the Nonary game quite a bit if they go and investigate the leftmost elevator and find 2 people who have been like gassed to death or something.
Are you saying there's still someone in there?
I can't say for certain, but it does seem strange.
A lot of these animations, like these 2 characters in particular, man, boy does that feel like characters that you would have as just NPCs in a JRPG. They just don't feel like they fit to do those animations or to be depicted this way in this game. And I feel like the 3rd Nonary game, probably, or the Zero Time Dilemma, whatever it really is called, the spiritual 3rd Nonary game, goes back to 2D animation. And that, I think that is probably the right move.
Maybe we should go take a look.
Yeah, good idea. And stock running. Hey, anybody in there? So a good question also would be, are all the puzzles the same for each elevator, or would they have been different puzzles completely? And could you have opened the vents from the top and let more people out? Because one assumes that they jumped down from the top of their elevator and then couldn't have gotten back up. Anybody in there? If you can hear me, just, I don't know, make some noise.
Nothing.
Hey, look at this!
Look at this. Ambidex Room. What does that mean?
Is that some kind of card reader? Maybe it unlocks it or something.
Do we have any cards? No.
There's one next to each door.
What do you think Ambidex Room is supposed to mean?
It looks like the rooms also could have been lifted up by that crane, so perhaps the rabbit wasn't lying as much as they thought. Maybe it literally would have picked him up and then dropped it back down. And although a drop from 2 flights in an elevator isn't guaranteed to kill anybody, but maybe that's not the goal. Maybe it would have dropped him and just scared people a little bit.
Well, it says it on all 6 of the elevators.
Maybe it has something to do with the game that Zero was talking about.
So they were all Ambidex rooms.
Oh, the Nonary Game Ambidex Edition?
If it was Ambidex, it would almost assume that there's a bracelet on the other hand of each character. But you would almost... It would be ridiculous for them to reveal that at the moment, to say, oh yeah, each person has 2 bracelets on each arm. Maybe, maybe not. I don't think we really need to worry about that right now, though. We should be figuring out what's inside this thing. Anybody got a key card?
Nah. I got nothing. Not even dirt.
So they've taken everything we were carrying? Wonderful.
You were carrying dirt? The rest of us dug through our pockets as well, but it was pretty obvious the deal was right. This is interesting background image to certainly help just further establish the room you're in. Even though I'm not sure that this room will actually turn into an escape room. My own were completely empty. There wasn't even lint in the creases.
Maybe there's no one in there.
No, there is. There's gotta be.
What makes you so sure?
Well,
What's that?
Hmm.
Look! It's opening! There was someone in there!
And then here you have a jump animation that really didn't need to exist. Like, you can definitely see they got far too ambitious and wasted some budget animating things that didn't need to be animated. Like a still image in 3D of that would have been just as well. Who the hell? And we have what looks like a robot. Of course, this is 2028, remember, so technology can be particularly advanced in this universe, and frankly, it could have always been particularly advanced because we just didn't know what kind of world the Nonary games are set in. And he's carrying a anime girl in what looks like a bikini top with big fiery red hair and big high boots. The girl that was too young to really be wearing such high fashion boots, in my opinion, also had quite a lot of crazy fiery red hair and fashion. They didn't really depict it much though, because they often would only just show the characters from their upper torso. The robot himself seems to be almost dressed like a monk, so he's just like in a red cloth, which, yeah, at a certain level he's already in a robot suit, so probably lose the cloth and just have a robot suit completely. I guess the question we will want to figure out is there actually a human in this robot suit, or is it some kind of AI or something?
Clover!
Clover was the name of the girl in the first game. So this is Clover, and Clover was the girl. She's wearing relatively the same outfits, other than the fact that she's now grown older and certainly dressed a little bit more scantily clad. So if Alice recognizes Clover, then Alice must have been the character that was in the first game. So we've got 2 characters from the previous game. Clover also had her blind brother, who was unfairly put in the game considering he was blind, but inherently managed to still survive, I think. So the way the Nonary games were set up before, it was Clover that had the psychic link to the blind brother, so I wouldn't be surprised if the blind brother is potentially trying to send mental images into psychically to Clover. Of course, she's passed out apparently at the moment. Clover, question mark. This kind of implies a lot that the events of the first game were not revealed at all. And Alice and Clover seem like they are not going to reveal that. Here we can see that Clover is showing a lot of belly. In 2028, in this universe, though, it might be perfectly acceptable and reasonable to show a lot of skin. So we want to be slightly careful not to apply too puritanical Western mentality to this universe. But boy, is she definitely in hot pants and thigh-high stockings, high heel boots.
Clover, wake up!
We'll probably get a better image of it later, and we'll probably have conversations with Alice and Clover a lot, although I wouldn't be surprised if the game tries to limit some of that also. You can also see, looking at the back of Alice's hair, how there's really not any texturing or individual strands being depicted on her hair. Almost certainly the 3DS wouldn't have been able to render that at a decent resolution so that you could see it anyways, but it also is probably an indication of this being a beginner's effort in making 3D models. What's going on here? Do these two know each other?
What did you do to her?
And here we see her yelling at her, and with that necklace being the only thing that my eye at least is drawn directly to the cleavage. It kind of does feel like the necklace is curved in probably not some hard style gold metal, as more as it might be something that is more fabric like or chain like.
Nothing.
The masked man says nothing.
She was like that when I woke up. I really wouldn't worry though. She should be all right. Her breathing is steady. I believe she's only sleeping. Then she hasn't woken up since they kidnapped her.
So the masked man solved the whole room by himself.
Kidnapped? Begging your pardon, but I'm afraid I don't understand what you mean. Where are we? And who are you?
If this guy is a robot, then him being gassed probably would not have put him out of running, so he probably was just turned on and not gassed. Well, hold on. How about you tell us who you are first? You leap out of that box dressed like some kind of robot carrying an unconscious girl, and we've only got your word that you didn't make her that way. I think you owe us an explanation, pal. Who am I? What? And we had a character in the first game who couldn't remember anything. I don't know if that was ever properly explained.
I don't remember anything.
I would chalk it up to him being a robot that just was turned on, or just had his memory erased.
Even what day it is. If you happen to know any of those things, I would very much appreciate if you shared that information. Not knowing one's identity is vexing.
Oh yeah, very original. The amnesiac routine. Please.
I feel like it's good that somebody called him on that immediately.
How are we supposed to take you seriously when you're wearing this robot suit? We can't even see your face. You gonna tell us someone forced you into that thing?
I assume so. It seems the most reasonable explanation.
The question that I really want to see here, and this is the only reason why the robe might exist in the first place, is he wearing a bracelet? And if he is wearing a bracelet and he's a robot, then would an injection of two chemicals actually kill him?
When I woke up, I was wearing this
He might be a
armor.
cyborg or something.
You look pretty calm for a man who doesn't know who he is. Look? That's an odd choice of words.
waking up. Clover, are you okay? Come on, talk to me.
Just let this all go through since we don't have to actually read any dialogue. Clover, you would kind of assume that after the first Nonary game, Clover might, you know, not dress like a party girl who's always going to a rave, but apparently she didn't take that lesson.
Alice, where are we?
Yeah, the fact that Clover and Alice would have been in a Nonary game and they wouldn't realize that that's what they're in again seems unbelievable unless there was some kind of magic or something that had erased their memory of the previous events. Once Clover had woken up, Alice explained everything we knew so far. I'm glad they skipped over all that. She listened silently until Alice mentioned Zero in the Nonary game, then her eyes went wide.
What?
Like, one assumes now that if I was assuming that Clover was 16 in the first game and it's been probably 10 years, that she's now like 26, which honestly she doesn't look like a 26-year-old to me. I would still put her at best at 20, if not closer to 18 or so, but who knows, maybe the events of the first Nonary game really did happen just a few years ago. You'd almost want to make the Nonary games happen exactly 1 year after the first one. That way there's not going to be potentially that much of a difference in the universe, and people really wouldn't have been able to investigate people running Nonary games and stop them.
No, that can't.
The blood drained from her face, and she wrapped her arms tautly around herself. What did she know? As Alice continued to console Clover, the rest of us turned to questioning the mysterious man in the mask.
When did you lose your memory?
That's probably not a question most people can answer.
That's a difficult question. I suppose when I was born, I don't remember anything of my life. Assuming I had one.
The better question is, do you have a bracelet? Do you have a hand? Are you a robot? Are you a cyborg? The difference there being a human inside a robot suit or part robot. We asked him everything we could think of: birth date, address, occupation, family, childhood, but all he did is shake his head.
I think he has generalized amnesia. It's a type of memory loss.
Is Luna a doctor?
People affected by it retain knowledge like language, social common sense, memorized facts, abilities they've learned. But anything that has to do with themselves is just lost.
Yeah.
It's a very serious condition. Most research suggests that it's mainly psychological, not physiological. But in very rare instances, it has been shown to result from severe head trauma.
Do you have any idea what might have caused it?
Maybe I had a really bad breakup?
He's making a laughing sort of noise, but his expression didn't change. With that mask on, there was no way we could tell if he was smiling or not, but his voice sure did make it sound like he was.
Bullshit. This guy's obviously full of it. Don't tell me you're actually buying this.
You might as well play along for a while. Dio seems like he's going to be a little too aggressive, and that's potentially going to cause more conflict than solve any problems. Dio's outburst was greeted with awkward silence. It wasn't that we trusted the robot per se, only that it seems clear he was in the same boat we were. There was a bracelet on his wrist too. Close inspection revealed that his armor fits around the bracelet. In other words, the bracelet was attached to his arm, like ours, not simply part of his suit. And just like ours, it had a 3 on it and they are the green pair. So it's depicting that the bracelet is around the wrist, although in this case it's not really around the wrist so much as it is on his back of his hand by the looks of it. It said pair below the 3 and all the text was bright green. Clover's bracelet was exactly the same. How long had we been there? Still hadn't entirely shaken the last traces of sleep out of my head, and my brain felt foggy and cluttered. Had I been asleep for hours, days, there was no way to know. They'd taken my favorite watch when they grabbed me and given me a bracelet instead. Unless it happened at 3 o'clock right now, it wasn't going to be very useful for telling time. With no windows in the warehouse, it was impossible to even guess the time of day or night it was. Time could have stopped and we wouldn't have had the first idea. Well, now that they have 9 people, they theoretically should be able to all open the door and go through it. I guess the only real question is, do different combinations that open the door to a different way? Is it like the safe where a false back might swing around, or an elevator might take you to different floors based on the combinations? I bet it doesn't. I bet it just opens the door completely. And I wouldn't be surprised if each of these colored doors on the other side actually are entryways back into this floor A, perhaps even because we're going to get a key card to get back into the Ambidex Room at some point near the end of the game. Damn it. No dice. This thing won't open.
Didn't I tell you that?
Yeah, well, I just thought I'd...
There's a box here. Maybe it's some sort of locking thing, like the ones next to the elevators. I don't think it's a card reader, though.
Yeah, I have no idea what that's supposed to be. Unless there's some kind of like triangular thing next to it. Huh?
Hey, what do you think that is?
What?
That graffiti over there. See? On the wall?
They've been ignoring the graffiti up until this point.
Oh, yes, that. I was wondering what that was.
Is that graffiti or is that blood? 2 milkmen go comedy. Yeah. And see, in the first game, when we saw some of these things written on the walls, I felt like it probably was a low-effort repainting of the image in English, and it probably had like Japanese characters on it originally, and they didn't have a good clean background to then put English characters over it. So I wouldn't be surprised if this whole 2 milkmen go comedy was just something they picked up to write over Japanese characters. Although maybe canonically in the story, that's exactly what happened, and perhaps this originally said something different if you like removed some letters or painted over some letters. I don't know what you could do. The G's could be 9s, certainly. 9, 9. Could be like 1, 1, 1, but yeah, I don't know.
2 milkmen go comedy. I'm not sure what that's supposed to mean.
Yeah, I'm totally lost there too. Maybe it's saying that a pair of milkmen decided to become comedians. Still, that kind of sounds like nonsense, though.
I think it's somebody's way of saying hello.
What?
You heard me.
Yeah, I did. What the hell was that supposed to mean?
It's an anagram.
Okay, anagrams. I'm not an expert on anagrams, but I don't think the game is going to require me to be an expert in anagrams. A little surprising that the first game didn't have anagrams. An anagram?
They tried a lot of names before they worked it down to Tella.
Let's see. They tried a lot of names before they worked it down to Tella. What is she talking about, Tella?
Come on, seriously?
Oh, I guess she's making a joke as far as telegrams in that case.
You've never heard of an anagram.
It's a kind of, wordplay where you move the letters around to create something else.
Yeah, in Asian languages, anagrams kind of don't make any sense at all. That's why you don't see people doing anagrams and why you have things like Sudoku instead of like crossword puzzles and anagram puzzles.
Exactly. Watch.
It definitely feels like Phi is going to have more animations shown than otherwise. And honestly, I think most of the time we're going to just see the heads of characters from the backgrounds more than anything. With the tip of her boot, she spelled out 2 sentences in the dust on the floor. 2 milkmen go comedy. And then she spreads it all around to say welcome to my kingdom, which that is what the character said. But also the way she has done this anagram and depicted it is really crazy, because the C and the E in comedy then gets moved in a pair to the C and E in welcome. I don't think I'd be able to do that, frankly, in all fairness. Even with a bit of help, I don't think I'd be able to anagram such a long combination of letters into a word. What you'd have to do in a game like this would separate it out. Have something that equals just one word, and then have something that equals the next word. And there certainly is a point here where I wouldn't be surprised if this anagrammed into something completely different and Phi is trying to trick people or just mistranslated it. Welcome to my kingdom. Okay. If you switch it around, yeah, that makes sense. Huh?
Exactly. Seems like somebody was expecting us, doesn't it?
So if Tinmoya also figured that out, then we have 2 people that can do anagrams, and apparently nobody else, including the player. Yeah, but where are they? Pretty weird to invite somebody over and not even offer them a drink.
But you're assuming that Zero isn't one of us.
I get reaction shots for everybody. Yeah, yep. That probably does need to be thrown out immediately, but in the first game it turned out to... Was it true or was it not true? There definitely was a fake 0, and then there was a real 0. And this is also something that Alice and Clover could have pointed out immediately. And frankly, they probably should just reveal everything they know to the entire group as quickly as possible so that people don't waste time repeating the same mistakes of the past. What? Hee hee. And 0 is going to be voiced. And he's just laughing at them.
Huh?
Look, over there.
Shame on you, Fido.
Her name is Fido. He's calling her Fido, as in like a dog.
You
Zero.
I've got a plan, you know. I can't just tell you everything at once. Although, things are starting to get exciting.
Where are you, you little bastard? Too scared to come out and face me like a man?
Are you an idiot? I'm a rabbit. You really think a talking rabbit is a real thing?
Of course I don't. You're some kind of CG rabbit or something, probably. That's not what I meant, though.
Oh! You meant you want to see the person who's controlling me? Guess God touched this one a little too hard.
What?
Weren't you listening to Fido? She's clever, you know.
Wait, then you're saying Zero is one of us?
Yes. I guess that's one way to put it.
Are you really sure? You're responding to our questions and stuff right now. That means you're not just like a video somebody made.
Yep, that is, I suppose, a question to ask.
Wouldn't that mean that Zero would have to be controlling you and sending you answers right now?
So, almost certainly, this just puts suspicion on the robot guy, potentially controlling it.
Because it doesn't look like anyone's doing that.
Well, of course they aren't.
Hmm.
I'm an AI.
Yep, we figured that was the case. What?
I'm an artificial intelligence powered by a quantum computer. Zero is the one who built me, of course. So I guess that makes one of you my parent. Now, are you a mommy or a daddy?
So the first question would be to just ask the AI if he would spill the beans and tell you who Zero is. Because depending on how well you program the AI, it might decide, you know what, I'm not going to play along, I'm just going to spill the beans immediately.
Now, with that said, I guess I should probably tell you that I'm not the one who brought you here.
Okay, so you run into some problems here. The mommy or daddy statement might indicate that some of these characters are parents. But honestly, I could imagine Luna being a parent and maybe Dio and maybe Fi and Alice being a parent. It becomes pretty obvious that Tomoya could have been a parent, and the robot man could have been a parent, but the kid obviously can't be a parent, and Clover's not likely to have been a parent. If there's some hint in that, Sigma not likely to be a parent either. But if you ignore that part, how many of these characters do you honestly believe could program an AI in 2028 and make a quantum computer, particularly when you have characters that seem to not really even know what an AI is or a quantum computing is? Like, I severely doubt that the boy or Clover or Alice built a quantum computer. Fi could have done it. Sigma almost certainly didn't do it. Tomoya could have done it. Luna doesn't seem like she's the type to have done it. Dio doesn't seem like he's the type. And we don't know anything about the robot man, so maybe there.
I mean, obviously, I don't even have a body. I'm just the facilitator for this facility. I just do what I'm told to do.
And what do you facilitate?
Didn't I say? The game, of course!
Oh, the Nonary Game Ambidex Edition.
Correct.
And they're throwing out some big words.
It's my job to make sure it runs smooth. No.
And here we have Clover. Yeah, you run into a big problem. Even though Clover is aged up here and different, looks different, she drastically looks different now that she's in 3D. And we've basically never seen a scenario where any kind of animation has transitioned from 2D to 3D and it's felt right. You have to do full-on reboots for it to even start to make sense. I can't think of a single cartoon or anime where that really worked. And for the most part, even now, when animes are made with CG and computers, they are done using the best technology available to make them still look somewhat flat in 2D. None of this video game 3D modeling, which honestly, video game 3D modeling is kind of its own technology to itself, because the 3D modeling doesn't get the lack of polish that you would get for a movie, where it might be the same software, but in a movie you can spend a year having it render and putting a bunch of detail in it. Video games, you can't do that. And any 3D animation for TV or movies tends to always be way more polished and have at least higher polygon counts. You wouldn't have edges on elbows and shoulders show up like this. You only have this low polygon count because you don't have a decent video card in something like a Nintendo 3DS, which, in all fairness, at the time, yeah, that was not a expensive video rendering card that was built into the circuitry of those types of devices.
It's supposed to be over.
There she goes again. She knows something.
So, what is the Nonary Game?
Nonary refers to a base 9 numeral system, but can also mean something that is, in some way, related to the number 9.
Yeah, we kind of knew that if we played the first game. I'd feel really bad for anybody who had played this game and not played the first one.
Can be used as a prefix as well, where it means essentially the same thing. Therefore, it stands
It would not make good sense at all to play this before the first game.
Exactly. 9 is a very, very important number in this game. After all, 9 is your goal.
Goal?
Yes, goal. You see that door in front of you? That's your door. If you can open the door with a 9 on it, you can escape.
And what do we have to do to open it?
Interesting. So the potential, the way he's explaining it right now seems to be that that's the end goal right there, and once you open that door, you're completely freed.
Yes.
Maybe that's an assumption I'm making.
Let me explain. Look at your left wrists. You see the bracelet? Of course you do. Now, tell me, Fido, what number is on yours?
A 3.
What about the rest of you?
They're all the same. We've all got 3s.
Exactly. I'm going to call those numbers bracelet points. If you're feeling lazy, you can just call them BP. Only the people who can get their number to 9 or more will be able to open the door with a 9 on it and escape.
Wow. So this might be a very different experience. You might have to actually earn points somehow and raise it to escape. In the first game, if you went over to a second digit number, then it would add the tens digit to the ones digit. So if there are 9 people right now and they all have 3, then 9 times 3 would be 27, and 2 plus 7 would equal 9, which would potentially open the door using that system right now. Of course, almost all numbers, well, quite a lot of numbers, not all numbers, that's the wrong thing. All 2-digit numbers have a good chance of adding up to 9. There's a whole math magician trick where you take an initial number and then you add a second number and then divide it, and you do all kinds of math. And the way it turns about is you add a number and then you kind of subtract a number, and by adding a number and subtracting a number, you you end up in this mathematical trap that ensures that the number will always end up being 9, which is the basis, I think, of the Nonary games, and even though they do try to be a little bit sneakier on it.
See the box on the wall? That's how you'll get out. Anyone with a greater than or equal to 9 DP can pull that lever and the door will open.
Greater than or equal to. Interesting. So you can go over, but if you go over, you're almost certainly screwing somebody else out of their opportunity to win and leave.
However, there are 3 rules you
Carrot forget. It's kind of ridiculous to program an AI to say the words wrong.
What?
Probably to be cutesy.
The number 9 door will only stay open for 9 seconds. When your time is up, it will close automatically. So be careful. 2. The number 9 door only opens once.
Okay.
Once that happens, it's all over.
Well, we need a rule that
And after 9 seconds, so if you're not careful, you could get stuck.
the rule here seems to be fairly easy. That so far that you could just open the door, one person could, and everybody could run through.
3. Now, maybe some of you are thinking. You're thinking, oh ho, if my BP is too low, then I'll just have someone with enough BP open the door. And I'll just slip through when it's open. But that's not gonna happen.
Gonna lappin', which lappin' is the scientific word for rabbit, or no, lupus, or lupin, I think maybe they misspelled it.
If you think you can be sneaky,
Well, what?
Oh, I really shouldn't say that yet. All you need to know is that anybody who tries to sneak out
Any bunny.
with a big penalty.
What the hell does that mean?
Down in front. I'll tell you later. Yes.
Why did you start making rabbit puns?
Well, because I felt like it. I thought it might make me sound cute.
Never mind that. You still haven't told us what we need to know most. How do we get BP?
Oh, that's easy. Just use the Ambidex Room. If you like abbreviations, you can always call it the AB Room instead.
They were mentioned as AB rooms. I didn't think that stood for anything.
You mean those, elevators?
Gold star.
So how do we go about using them?
How else do you use a room? You go in.
You mean through the hatches?
No. I had a hunch you might try that, so I closed those up tight while you were talking. So don't be hatching any hatch plans, you understand? I live in the master computer. That means all the electronic doors in this whole warren are under my control.
How do we get in then? We tried the doors on the front. They're all locked.
There's a card reader next to each one, isn't there? All you gotta do is slide a card through, and there you go.
Where do we find those key cards?
We don't got them. There weren't any in the warehouse.
Oh, well, no. Of course there wouldn't be any there.
Then where are they?
I think you'll find what you're looking for behind the chromatic doors.
Chromatic doors is what he's calling them.
Right there! You see the 3 pretty doors just to your right?
Huh? Hold on. I thought those doors were locked.
Work.
What?
You
Yep.
see those buttons on the sides of your watch? Can you press them at the same time?
Why?
To make little boys ask questions. Just press them, please. In fact, why doesn't everybody press their buttons Well,
Yeah, that's a bad idea. Hey, what's this number? Now it looks like a time.
the 2 digits on the left show hours, and the 2 on the right show minutes.
Does that mean it's 12:10 in the morning?
No.
Oh, the numbers are going down.
It's gone from 10 minutes to 9.
So, that would mean this must be counting down to something, right?
Correct. I don't even need to explain the rest, do I?
I'm guessing this is the time until the chromatic doors unlock.
Ding, 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 ding.
One hopes that was the thing, because I thought maybe that was you have 10 minutes until it blows up or kills you to walk through a door.
Very impressive, Tenmioli.
10 me oldie.
All right. Let us review what we've learned. In 9 minutes, the chromatic doors will open automatically.
A lot of dialogue, as true with most visual novels.
However, just like
They're trying to speed this up, but
you have 5
it is a lot of setup. So you have 5 minutes after the 9 minutes?
time is up. The doors will close no matter what. So I hope you've gone through by then. That's just the primary door.
What?
Each door in this warren has a twin. Isn't that nice?
So,
The chromatic doors aren't any different.
somewhere around here is another blue and yellow and purple door.
There's one door on this side, one door on the other side. Unfortunately, the secondary chromatic door on the other side is locked too.
Couldn't make it easy for us, could you?
Of course, you'll all have to split up.
Split up.
Yep. Cleaver, can you tell me what the 3 primary colors are?
So, we had a face blind character in the first game. I wouldn't be surprised if we have a colorblind character in the second game. Which, being colorblind probably won't be that big of a problem.
Why are you asking me?
Because you're the only person who hasn't talked to me.
So he called her Cleaver, which is a kind of funny callback to one of the bad paths in the first game, in which he became an axe murderer.
I try to communicate with as many people as I can. It helps me improve, you see. I'm trying to get into the rabbit of doing it all the time. Now, answer my questions. Do you know what the 3 primary colors are? Well,
Red, green, and blue.
You mean red, green, and blue? You're supposed to be able to make any color by mixing them, right?
so which colors would you mix to get magenta?
Let's see. Yeah, I have no idea. Like, magenta probably is red and green.
Red and blue.
Okay, red and blue.
How about yellow?
Green and red.
Yep. See, computer color mixing, though, is different than pigment mixing. Yeah.
What if you wanted cyan?
Blue and green.
That's right!
But if you put all 3 of those together, you either get black or white.
Now, take another look at the nice bracelets you're all wearing. Notice how they come in 3 vibrant colors?
Yeah. We get it already.
Notice how my main character is basically shut up and let all the other characters
Red and blue
talk,
bracelets can
which
open
lets
the
the story
secondary
move
magenta
further.
door together. Green and red can open the yellow one. And blue and green can open the cyan door. I miss anything?
Wonderful! I think you rabbit. There is one other little thing, though.
You're talking about what happens if you've got two of the same color, right?
Yep. What do you think happens?
Well, at that point, I think you'd probably have to balance it out, or, I mean, yeah, that almost implies you have to have at least 4 people.
How the hell would I know?
If you want to open a door, but all you've got is one color, then you can use that to open a door with the complementary color to the one you've got.
I see. So if you've got red and red, then you can open the cyan door.
Alright, well now this is getting really, really complicated. So if you have 2 people with red, you can then open a door that has absolutely no red in it. Well, that convolutes the problem quite a bit.
Blue and blue can open the yellow door.
I don't know how I'm going to wrap my head around that.
And green can open the magenta door.
That's still just pairs of 2 people. This system does not feel like it works if we break 9 people in half. You're going to have to leave somebody behind. Always.
Right again! Looks like your brain hasn't rotted away yet, 10-me-oldie.
Just what the hell's that supposed to mean?
It means exactly what it says. I was trying to compliment you, you know. Oh well. Let's continue.
It's funny to have an AI insult people.
There are 2 types of bracelets, pairs and solos. That means there's 2 types of players too. Pairs and solos. In this game, the 2 members of a pair are considered to be a single entity, which means they share the same destiny.
Okay, well then that means you could pretty heavily focus on the solo players to get 9 points, and you just need to get one of the pair people to get 9 points. And if there's some way potentially to take the 3 points from one pair player and give it to the other pair player, then that might solve the 9-point goal a lot easier. Although perhaps they share points, so you can't take 3 from one pair player and give it to the other pair player.
Isn't that a good deal? I mean, you get 2 for the price of 1! Unfortunately, it also means they carrot split up.
So I'm just going to be stuck with Phi for the entire story, which does kind of make it feel like we might very well end up playing with a completely different character at some point.
Solos don't have any restrictions like that, though. I mean, why would they? They're forever alone. But that means that they can go wherever they want. Yay! Now, let's take another look at all of your bracelets. We'll start with you, Siggy.
I think we may have gone longer than I was expecting here.
What color is your bracelet?
Red.
Are you a pair or a solo?
I'm a pair. Did he call me Sydney instead of Sigma?
Fido is next. Tell us about your bracelet.
Do we really need to go do this?
What about you, Alice?
Alice.
It's red, and I'm a solo.
Theo, Quirk?
So what's interesting, I would say, about Alice's hand is she has like blue fingernails, and all the other females seem to have long fingernails, but they seem to not have any color on them, which is a little weird.
Blue. Pair.
Yeah, mine's the same.
Moody, Cleaver, Tenmioli, all at once?
I'm a blue solo.
See, you can see Luna's, she has long thumbnail that you can see, but it's not painted any color.
I'm a green.
And Clover, she has a long thumbnail, but no color. You kind of expect to put some more color on them, but since you're drawing an arm and it's going to be shown a lot in the game, it's not that odd to have painted fingernails. It's a lot more odd to be wandering around in hot pants and a bra or topless as a female.
Green Solo.
I could understand Luna not having any painted fingernails, but the other two really don't match
Finally,
that concept.
who are you?
I'm
Interesting that the AI doesn't know who he is either. So, like, one would just assume that this is Zero.
let's see. I suppose you can call me Kay.
I knew it. You were just lying about that amnesia crap.
I'm not lying. This was just a, how do I put it? A flash of insight, I suppose. I saw the letter K.
So, what does K have to do with anything?
I wish I knew. Sadly, I have no idea.
Is K the 9th letter? It might very well be.
Does it mean anything to you?
Asshole.
Come on now, boys. You can fight later. Now, Kay?
See, this whole depiction of dialogue this way really should speed things up, but there's just so much dialogue here.
Yes,
I'm guessing your bracelet is the same as Clover's.
that's right. It says pair. And the text is green.
Okay. I'm glad we got all that bracelet business out of the way. Now, let us return to the subject at hand. How do you open the secondary door?
Good question.
What would you do to get through the magenta door?
The problem here is that this has gone so long for my recording purposes that we're going to get all the explanation and then potentially end the recording and start with some action in the next episode and then have none of the setup information remembered because there's just so much dialogue here. I'll remember most of it and figure it out, but there is a lot of room here for just information overload. Well, fine, I can't split up since we're part of the same pair. If we're red, then I guess we should pair up with Luna, since she's blue and Solo. Now, there's no reason why it has to be Luna. There's two other options that would work just as well.
Or you could work with Mr. Dio and me. We're blue too.
Let's see. So now they're going to say you can't do 4 people.
Celery sticks. I forgot to tell you. You have to have exactly 3 people in your group to open the secondary door. That means you can't have 2 people, or 4 people, or, well, anything other than 3, really.
So that solves a lot of the scenarios and eliminates a lot of possibilities, thank goodness. Then the only choice is for us to pair with Luna.
And I guess I should probably tell you that the secondary door won't open until the primary door closes.
Okay.
It's made that way to keep out cheaters. We didn't want a 4th or 5th person just running in at the last minute like, "Ah, wait for me!" when the right people open the door. But if the primary door closes first, then that's impossible! See? It all makes sense. Anywho,
A lot of these scenarios were not covered or mentioned in the first game, and this is helpful. I don't know if this is the best way. It almost seems like it would be easier to have just faded out and then had this conversation recapped by Sigma in internal dialogue, where where he just said Zero gave us the rules, that the story, they boil down to this, or Zero just prints out rules and hands them to you, and you just have a note to each character that then you could just read them at your own leisure, and it could be much more abbreviated.
I have run a hair too long in my explanation, but now
Even the game is admitting that this is taking too long, and honestly, it may have taken 10 minutes to get from the point where it started saying 10 minutes to this point. Let's see. I'd have a lot of questions here. I really want to get the motivation of the AI to see does the AI want to help us but is forced by rules, or is the AI very happy to just not help us and watch us fail? Is there some way you could manipulate or convince the AI to be on your side? Artificial intelligence does open the idea to it having intelligence and being able to switch sides and being helpful and giving hints and just asking for help in general might be very useful. I took a moment to go over everything we learned so far. What do I have to do to escape? See, so here we're just going to get a recap of the conversation we had, which frankly means we didn't need to see that first conversation. Open the number 9 door. How do I open the number 9 door? I have to get 9 or more bracelet points, also known as BP. How do I get more BP? We still don't really know. I don't have the whole answer to that one yet, but it looks like you have to head into the Ambidex Room to get it. How do I get into the Ambidex Room? I need a key card for that. Compared to the first game, though, this does seem to be better laid out and less of a experience where people just didn't know what to do and they were just wandering around looking for rooms they could enter. There was tons of doors that were just locked and tons of running around looking for unlocked doors in the first game. Here it seems like they're going to just try to eliminate all that fluff. Where's the key card? Zero said it's on the other side of the chromatic door. What do I do to open the primary chromatic door? Nothing actually, apparently. It just opens on its own after a certain amount of time. Pressing the buttons on both sides of our bracelet simultaneously shows us how much time is remaining. How do I get through the secondary door? For starters, there's a limit to how many people can go in, specifically 3 people. If combining the colors of our on the bracelets of those 3 people gives us the same color as the door, then your door will open. If everyone has the same color, then you can open the door, which with the color's counterpart, complementary color. Matching red plus blue equals magenta, green plus red equals yellow, blue plus green equals cyan, complementary red plus red equals cyan, blue plus blue equals yellow, and green plus green equals magenta.
good.
So yeah, it does seem like I'll probably want to do, anytime I have a choice as far as what store, I'll probably just want to go to the top choice. Same is true for any dialogue choices, if we even get any of that. I feel like you could probably eliminate a lot of dialogue choices in this game, or just eliminate them all in total, and this could be a very linear experience as far as conversation and just a split branching path experience as far as what door we pick.
Excellent. It looks like none of you have any questions. Yay!
Huh? No, wait. We have questions. Of course we have questions. What's the point of this game? Why did you take us? Where are we? And who the hell is the real Zero? So they do just straight up open.
Chromatic doors have opened. 5 minutes remain until chromatic doors close.
So you have 5 minutes to decide which door you're going through.
Oh, so sorry, guys. But it looks like your time's up. Better hop to it and get those secondary doors open.
Fuck that! We aren't gonna open shit! You can take your lamery game and shove it up your ass. If you think we're just gonna swallow your psychotic crap and play along, you've got another thing coming, you smart-ass little rodent.
I'm a rabbit.
Shut up!
Well, shoot. I thought you might say that.
So it'd be funny if they just kill Dio right now.
Unfortunately, you have no choice but to follow the rules.
Why is that?
When the time comes, those 3 doors will automatically close. Anyone who's left outside after they close,
They'll what?
they'll be penalized.
So Dio is potentially going to get this little kid killed
You keep saying that.
because
What the hell is
it
this
seems like
penalty
if
anyway?
Dio dies, the kid probably dies too.
Well, death.
And they couldn't get all 8 characters on the screen at one time.
The first is an anesthetic called Soparil Beta. The other is a muscle relaxant called Tubocurarine.
I think the Soparil was the drug in the first game.
Your bracelet also has a bunch of needles on the inside. If you break the rules, those needles hop out and inject you.
Now this is probably a point where an animation
The Soparil
might...
shoot a snake. 9 minutes later, the Tubocurarine is injected, numbing your respiratory muscles.
So potentially you could cheat the game and if you know the game is going to be over in less than 9 minutes and somebody can drag your body through the 9 door and potentially have the bracelet come off.
I guess you could say it'll really take your breath away. You should know that the Soparil is only there out of the kindness of Zero's heart. And I mean the real Zero. Honey, Zero just doesn't want to see anybody suffer. Isn't that just so compassionate? If I had a heart, it'd be melting right now. Anyway, all it means is that you'll die pretty painlessly, so hey, there's nothing to worry about, really. Of course, none of that will happen if you just follow the rules.
3 minutes remain until
We lost like 2 minutes in that conversation, and that probably wasn't 2 minutes.
Well then, looks like it's time for me to hop on out of here. Good luck, guys. See you all later. Have a nice trap.
See, and now this time he says trap instead of trip. Or what was it? It was trick before, and now it's trap. So that golden folder did reveal that he is apparently going to give some hints in that final sentence, which maybe that's the limit at which the fake AI Zero can help you, is to tell you it's a trap. So there was poison in the bracelet. No bombs this time. Previously there were bombs like surgically implanted or nano bombs injected in the blood of the characters, and the watches would activate and act as detonators to the bombs. Here they're going for a much more realistic concept of it just injecting people. Seemed a little hard to believe, but it wasn't like I had said anything other than a computer generated rabbit says either way. What does that sentence mean? It seemed a little hard to believe, but it wasn't like I had anything other than a computer generated rabbit say either way. Okay, that's feels like a run-on sentence. It feels like you should have. It seemed a little hard to believe. Period. Unfortunately, new sentence. Unfortunately, all I had to go by was a computer generated rabbit say, or what were we going to do? There was a lot to think about, but we didn't have very much time.
What are we waiting for? We need to go. We need to get through these other doors.
But how do we figure out which door to go through?
See, and inherently in the first game, the problem with this was you had personality decisions just from the get-go where certain people would just never match with other people regardless of how much you would like them to. So I imagine Dio would not want to match with Kay. So that probably wouldn't be a problem anyways. Well, no. It probably is a problem, but because that probably means that Dio and the kid here are either going to go with Clover or they're going to go with Luna. Well, no, wait a minute. Who are the solo people? The solo people are Timoya, Luna, and Alice. And if you'd played the previous game, you very well may want to always be with Alice. That would make the most sense. Because Luna probably doesn't have too much to add. Although it is very possible that Clover and Alice are really the wrap-up characters that are just filler characters, and the story of this game in particular is going to be much more focused on the new characters. Almost certainly that's the way I would have written it. Make them kind of red herring characters that have very little effect on the story at all. There definitely was an idea, certainly, to try and stick with the youngest character in the first game, which was Clover, so ideally there might be an idea to stick with the youngest character as far as this kid, but that won't work. So my choices basically boil down to Alice, Luna, or Timoya, and I don't know if there's anybody that has any preference whatsoever with any of those characters. The only real conflict we've seen so far is Kay and Dio, and that's about it.
You still don't get it? Fine. Just pay attention. We don't have much time.
Unfortunately, we're going to be stuck with Phi the whole time, regardless, and she might turn into a decent assistant character, like junior detective assistant type character.
Zero's explanation was
And hint giver.
So let me put it in small words for you. There are only 3 possible options. Option A. Sigma and I pair up with Luna. Our red and her blue can open the magenta door. That would mean Clover and
Yeah,
Kay would go
these
with Alice.
diagrams are
Their
kind of
blue
get
goes
more
with her red to make
more
yellow.
complicated.
That just leaves Dio and Quark as the blue pair, and Tenmyoji as the green solo. The only door they can open is the cyan one. Got it? Option B. Sigma and I go with Tenmyoji, so we can use red and green to make yellow for that door. That means Clover and Kay pair up with Luna to open the cyan door. This leaves Dio and Quark with Alice, and together, they can open up the magenta door.
So the only real question here is, would you want to keep Alice and Clover apart from each other? I don't know if there's a reason for that.
And finally, option C would be where we pair up with light colors to open complementary colored doors.
Is there any fear at this point that Alice would try and kill Clover? Or that any character would try to kill any character in this situation? I feel like there's a decent chance that this time nobody is going to get killed at all. Or the rules are going to have to drastically change if somebody gets killed. I wouldn't be surprised if what happens is you just go through a branch, and if somebody dies, that's the end of the branch, and there's just no more story after that point.
That means Sigma, Alice, and I go through the cyan door.
See, and option C sounds like probably your best bet.
Clover, Kay, and Tenmyoji go through the magenta door. And Dio, Quark, and Luna go through the yellow door. Problem is, which do we choose?
Please, Sigma, choose something.
So Luna just says, Sigma, you choose. What? Wait, what? Why
If
me?
you don't want to, then maybe Alice or Clover can choose.
Luna definitely doesn't want to choose.
Tenmyoji or Dio or anyone. Once one person chooses, everyone else's decisions will be made for them.
Yeah, so who's going to be the leader?
Please, you have to hurry. We're almost out of time.
At a certain point, if you have characters pushing the main character to make decisions, it might cross the line from being just, oh, this is a video game conceit where the main character always makes all the choices, which happened in the first game. But it might cross the line, particularly in this story, to maybe I'm hooked up to a VR reality and maybe none of these people are real. And maybe that's why Sigma is being pushed to make all the decisions.
1 minute remains until chromatic doors close.
Yeah, there's no time. Just pick option A. Nobody seemed upset, but they probably knew as well as I that we didn't have enough time for bickering. Took a deep breath and spoke. Okay, fine, I will. Let's save. Although, frankly, I don't know if we really need to save. Wow, 3 hours and 38 minutes playtime. I think that some of that was when I was paused, though, so hopefully this isn't a 3 hours and 40 minute episode. I was going closer to 2 hours and 30 minutes, hoping. We can also see that there is 9 endings on this save file that we'll want to unlock, which if we look at the flow, that seems weird, because that does imply that there are some redundancies here. So yeah, there's more than 9 final branches on this. It might very well be that you can only get to about this tier and without unlocking more secrets. And if this is our split, then the next 3 are probably going to be novels surrounded by escape rooms, and then there will be another split decision, and then probably another novel or escape room section, and then eventually we'll hit more split decisions. Alright, well, let's see. What I'd like to see in the archive is, like, all the help is unlocked. No more secrets have unlocked. And no more files have unlocked. I feel like there probably should have been something that was more of a helpful, frankly, because if I'm going to have to try and make a memo, this memo is almost certainly going to have to get erased. And it says 1 of 2, but that seems to be about all you can have, is just 2 memos at a time. Interesting. Well, is there anything in the logs to worry about? Nope. How far does the log go back? I wonder. Seems like the log very well may just go back all the way to the beginning of the game, which that'd be fairly easy to do, frankly. The options, I will always just go with the topmost option, then the second most option, then the third most option, and that'll be it. That's going to be it for this recording. So far, so good. Of course, it is going to be a long journey. We now know these visual novel games are going to be long. As always, I ask you to like, share, subscribe, comment, and watch every second of my videos. If you want a friend or follow me on any social media sites, there's a bunch of links down below. And if you want to support me further, there's a link to Patreon, or you can friend me on Steam and gift me a game off my wish list. Thank you for watching. Have a good evening.